Okay, and we are live. Habari kila mtu. As we always begin, we start with a prayer to the ancestors to guide the conversation, to have enlightenment, wisdom, understanding, and to share. Oh, have shoot. Enlightenment, wisdom. That is my complete understanding. Sorry, now I have to start all over again. My apologies, always with technology. So, prayer to the ancestors to guide the conversation, to give us wisdom, enlightenment, insight, to share knowledge and information, and to receive the same with grace. There is an echo still. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Let me see. Okay, I will close one window. Let's see. Okay, let me know if it's still echoing. Is it still? No. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we shall proceed. Thank you. So, yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, the third time will be the charm, I suppose. Charm. Anyway, so a prayer to the ancestors for wisdom, understanding, enlightenment, to share and receive wisdom with grace or knowledge. So today we're going to talk about okay, first I was going to talk about, the Brave New World. I think everybody has read it by now. It's like I said in the description, it's the two most famous dystopias. And dystopia is a utopia utopia is, an ideal. So something that people strive towards, that's an ideal. And so a utopia is the perfect ideal, and a dystopia is sort of like it's like a dysfunctional utopia. Yeah, I'm sure those words have the same etymology. Habari kila mtu. Okay, so okay, what is it called? Doing two things at the same time. Yeah, that one, multitasking. It's a word that describes itself. Okay, see, now I will have to go to so if I want just leave me alone. I'm not the best at this, and I try my best. So yeah, you just have to deal with me from time to time. But welcome, everyone. Karibu, Bejan. I have to start with the ladies first. Karibu, Beja, Melanin, Amani, Oni, and everybody else who's going to be here. So yes, yeah. So dystopia and utopia and all of those things, all those wonderful, nice words that you throw around at dinner parties, if you still go to those, they're just words that describe the perfect societies. What people strive for, not just collectively, but also individually. So when you look at a utopia, it's something that is the perfect, everybody is happy and so on. And a dystopia is the search, I would say, is a search for perfect ideal, and something goes wrong, but you're not quite sure what is wrong with it, because everything seems to be working on principle. So yeah, that's how I would describe a dystopia and a utopia. Sasa sasa mwandatezi, ni fit sana. Ni poa kabisa. Welcome. Yes. So okay, so let's say Oni was the first one here. Okay. Maneno is words, kwanza is first. There was an echo, and then okay, so the echo went away. Cool. Bejan Melanie is here. Oh, I just want to leave your your face on screen because it's just so pretty, energy. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Oni is here. Mondatezi, Karibu. So yeah, let's begin. Let's begin. Okay, so you have this perfect societies, the utopia where everybody gets what they want. It's almost like a paradise on earth. It's everybody gets what they want and you're all happy, nobody is sad and so on. And then something goes wrong. That's usually the utopia part of it. Yes, it was. I do agree. Okay, we'll put. If you don't mind, we don't want to be rude or anything, but yes, it is a pretty face. So, so that's what people seek, people want, and I think. Um, while 1984 and Brave New World, and we'll get into it just so we can revise and remind ourselves of what they mean. While people focus on that societal aspect of oh, it's totalitarian, you're under surveillance, all of that, which is great, it's all great. But there's different aspects of that utopia. Opia, does opia mean happy? I don't know, but it should, should be, it's like this happy, or you happy, or you're not happy. Anyway, so you have this perfection of society, but it's also supposed to be perfection of the individual, of the people. So it solves all of not just societal problems, but also all of human problems. And so, yes, thank you. Oh, wait, wait, are you being facetious or are you being realistic? You can't hear anything. Oh, okay, okay, no problem, no problem. All right, you are just enchanted, I suppose. So, okay, so that's what a utopia is. It's not just the perfection of society, but also of the individual, the person themselves. So when you look at the two, perfect societies you have in Brave New World, where okay, so we'll just go through it just really quickly, and then we'll compare Brave New World in 1984 and. Okay, Mondatezi. Okay. Ah, yes, Amadi. Koku. Wow, only you seem to have, your reputation has has spread. Anyway, yes, do if you like. Oh, you're back. Okay, so you're not wilding out in Tanzania anymore. Okay, cool. Um, but yeah, so you're back in the US. You know what is funny? Okay, so all of you seem to have just disappeared in a way, but it's fine. So in the Brave New World, you have this. Let's see. Um, okay, the plot summary of the Brave New World. So it's set in whatever time in the future. It's one of those futuristic science fictiony types of deals, and it's set in the year AF 632. So basically, AF is now we are on a new counting system. AF stands for after Ford, and it's named after Henry Ford's assembly line, which is revered as godlike. And this era begins when Ford introduced his Model T. So 632 years after the introduction of the Model T, the first mass-produced vehicle. And it examines this future society called the world state that revolves around science and efficiency. In this society, emotions and individuality are conditioned out of children at a young age, and there's no lasting relationship because everyone belongs to everyone else, a common world state dictum. Huxley begins the novel by explaining thoroughly the scientific and compartmentalized nature of this society, beginning at the central London hatchery and conditioning center where children are created outside the womb and cloned in order to increase the population. The reader is then introduced to the class system of this world where citizens are sorted as embryos to be of a certain class. The embryos, which exist within tubes and incubators, are provided with differing amounts of chemicals and hormones in order to condition them into predetermined classes. Embryos destined for the higher classes get chemicals to perfect them both physically and mentally, whereas those of the lower classes are altered to be imperfect in those respects. These classes, in order from highest to lowest, are alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and epsilon. The alphas are bred to be leaders, and the epsilons are bred to be menial laborers. So yeah, so that's the world building. Yes, that's the you know the world stage as it is. So can you hear me? Can you see properly? Should I? Okay, so you guys are back on that, that thing. So just to let you know, can you all hear or see properly? Can you all see the screen properly? I was trying to make it all full screen, but for some reason it's not being full screen. Zoom in. Okay, let me see. Um, okay, cool. I don't know who is. I think only you're the only one there, but let's see. Yes, I guess you have chased everyone away. Hold control and roll your mouse wheel up. Okay, let's see. Hold control. Okay. Cool. I should make a mental note of that. Okay, that's much better. Maybe that has been the problem all along. I have not held control and rolled the mouse wheel up. Okay, so that's better. Let me see if I can make it just a tad better. So control and mouse up. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so there you go. It's still a futuristic society. It's obviously at this time when it was written. When was it written? 1932. Yeah. So in 1932, obviously, this was something that was far into the future. Nobody could ever imagine, such a world where, there's a conditioning center where children are created outside the womb, where they're cloned, where, people are bred into certain classes and they're given chemicals and hormones to condition them for those certain classes. So anyway, so the story is Bernard Marx, who is an alpha. He and his love interest, Lenina or Lenina, I don't know, Lenina Crown, traveled to a savage reservation, quote unquote, where Max's boss, the director, lost a female companion some years ago. When the two arrive, they see people living there engaging in unfamiliar rituals. They also stumble upon a woman, Linda, and her son, John, also referred to as the savage, who Max correctly assumes to be the lost family. Well, there was a whole, thing behind it. You can all read it later. Let me see. I can post it I will post it. Okay, cool. Let me post it. So if you want to, take a look at it, you can. There you go. So, really, Mko? Okay. Well, for some reason, the reason why I don't know is because it says that there's only one person who's out there, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's cool. I'm going to post it in later, just after we do the summary. So yeah. So basically, it's a society where your destiny is predetermined, where everything that you see, there you go, it's on Britannica, and nothing too fancy. It's on, and it's a good book. It's a short book. You can read it in a short while, but sometimes people don't really have time to do all that reading. So if you didn't get a chance to read it before, unfortunately. Anyway, so it was written at a time of optimism in the West. And Huxley, created this dystopian world in order to criticize it. Well, sometimes I wonder, what the intention is really. You want to criticize it or to just anyway. But the anxiety that drives the brave new world is traced to the belief in technology as a futuristic remedy for problems caused by disease and war. So he felt that reliance was naive. It's not so much with the AI. This one is technology. It's more of, I would say biological technology. So, the technology of making humans, how do you say it? Like conquer nature, or because disease is natural to mankind, but medicine in a way is supposed to not just to cure you when you're sick, but also extend your lifetime. Anyway, so he felt that such a reliance was naive, and he wanted to take it to extremes. I don't know how extreme that was, but yeah, Huxley he was part of that science family. His grandfather, Thomas Henry Huxley, was a biologist and a proponent of Darwin's theory of evolution, and they were a very intellectual family. Well, he was accused of plagiarizing the novel. So Huxley denied reading the book, but some of those things can be expressed as the common fear of technology and the shared opinion of the tech skeptic. I don't think it's some of these readings of it, I dispute, but we'll get to it in a bit. So 1984 is, so Orwell was written in 32, and then Brave New World 32 and 1984 in 49. So this one was, this one was more of a scary utopia. It was based on this whole. Some people say that it's based on, like, this is what they say, it's based on this communism style. It's not usually that. That was just one way of of showing the how that works. But basically it was years of, it was about where thinking, acting. Basically the state had complete control over the mind and activities of every single individual, and was able to control it in without using, simply by gathering lots and lots of information, and being able to you know manipulate people in terms of data, in a way, because you cannot have a surveillance society, you cannot have a society that you control unless you know everything that it's doing. And in 1984, you have the constant surveillance up to the people who are on top. I can't remember where I was reading, somebody was saying that, oh man, no, that's a different story. That's a different story. So anyway, so Winston in 1984 is a symbol of the values of civilized life, and he represents, he's like a minion of the big brother and the whole. But even he is not, within. He's also an expendable member of the big brother, society, but he's still defeated because those societies, they still do not value the individuals. Even in the civil servants, they might represent the power of the state, but individually they are still servants of the state, so they have no power outside of the state, and even within the state, their power is still limited by their position. So that's the difference between having power, and so one of the ways that both community, both societies will try to manage the population, the people, the people. It's either you keep people happy in one way, or you limit their happiness. So in Brave New World, what they do is they limit, they make happiness unlimitless. They have this soma, which is a drug that that people take, and people are basically they're given chemical they're given chemical, how do you say it? Not hallucinators, but uh, yeah, they're given things to make them happy and subservient, and they're wonderful, and they seem to be happy. So in a way, but they're not given the freedom. Their lives are predestined from birth, and throughout their lives, they told where they're supposed to be, and that takes away that individual. It's people lose their individuality, but at the same time they still have this maximum freedom, and they're given health, and it's a society where there's no disease and everything can be cured using medicine and chemicals. And then in 1984 you have a world where you know you're kept to certain your time. I would say that in 1984 your time is not your own. You simply have to abide by certain rules and so on. And then emotion is so it's emotion is stagnated in both instances, but in different ways. In one is distraction, in the other one is distraction. So in one, your emotions are distracted by this false promise of happiness, and in the other one, your emotions are pretty much destroyed because you're not allowed to have relations and be a social being. So in either case, those are the different ways that both try to solve the problem of personal satisfaction, personal happy or unhappiness. Because at the bottom, even religions, entertainment, work to some extent. Well, work is to satisfy the basic needs of your basic biological needs for food, shelter, and all that. But your other needs, your other desires, those ones can only be satisfied in terms of you know in terms of happiness, this elusive thing. So you look at even the declaration. Why would they put we seek for life, happiness, and the pursuit of happiness? Why does a state have, what stake does a state stake let me see, what stake does the state have in happiness, in an emotion? So you'd wonder why you have the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, yes, liberty, yes, but within that liberty, you have the pursuit of happiness in it. So you shouldn't have to, the state should not have to guarantee you happiness in a way. But that's the is that the declaration, or is that the other one? Hold on. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the declaration. Yeah, we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So in 1984, you have the no, in Brave New World, you have the pursuit of happiness, where happiness is openly encouraged, where people are allowed to do whatever it is that they want. In fact, they're helped for to it. They're given all the tools they need for their own distractions, for their own satisfactions. And basically, it's a hedonistic society where people are free to do whatever they want, and happiness is a core essence. And in 1984 is the denial of happiness, where you're not allowed to have your own life. You're not allowed to to be happy, to pursue the things that you want, and happiness is denied. But in both cases, you still want to wonder why you know why a whole state should be concerned with the idea of people's happiness. The state is simply there to manage people. And so this idea of happiness, even the belief in it, a lot of people believe in this, the happiness, love, emotions, all these things that people sometimes even make life decisions on, based on simply happiness. And even when you look at a lot of some of the media, not all, but it's got to do with this elusive search for happiness. So yes, all right. So I guess we will take a break there as we ponder this whole idea of even our own pursuit of happiness and entertainment. Why is it that it's so important now for people to and we all guilty of it. This is not, saying that, one is worse than the other and so on. It's simply to even question our own, you know, forms of entertainment and of happiness. How do we define such things? They say that they took a poll. I think they took a poll. The happiness index. I don't even know what that means, but one of the happiest societies was in the I think it was one of those Tibetan related countries, somewhere over there, where people did not think too much about life. But when society is built around this idea of happiness, a lot of the decisions that people, even serious people, make sometimes is based on that. Even in advertisement, they use this idea of happiness to sell to people because they know that psychologically it's a very powerful incentive for people. So we also have to question our pursuits. We have to question that why do we seek, especially in a society where people increasingly pursue happiness, and yet the more people pursue it, the less people are. When people actively want it, it's like the idea of coolness. The more you want to be cool, the less cool you are. So with happiness, it's almost the same thing. We have a society that promotes it, and in the real world, for comparison and opposite, you can see a society that is based, on the opposite end, on not so much happiness for the individual, but duty to a higher thing, to because happiness is usually a very subjective and a very individualistic thing. So people want to be happy, and it's their own happiness, sometimes at the expense, sometimes with the shared experience of other people, but still creating an emotion around creating a whole society or a market around a whole emotion is usually it's usually very very risky, to say the least. And so you sort of have to manage all these different forces within society. So in 19 in Brave New World, it's this idea that you can even the idea of family is supposed to be like an old traditional throwback, is something that is not supposed to be still needed for society to go through. And in one instance, Max presents Linda and John to the director. John, the son of the director, never knew he calls the director father, and this provokes the director's resignation. So even the idea of father is almost considered like an insult, because the procreation between persons is not allowed. This biological is like a denial of biology, and his crime is exposed. So he's kept as a sort of experiment, and the Linda, which is her, the lady, yeah, protagonist, is sent to a hospital because of the drug Soma used to. This is like a this is like a palliative, and it's not entirely angelistic when it comes to what Huxley was talking about, because even when you look at the history of many of these chemicalized drugs, which have gotten increasingly stronger by the decades, But well, I don't know if they're stronger or not. But in terms of the usage, there has been the history of opium, of cocaine, of all this, and nowadays just new drugs just coming up over and over again because it's used for the citizens to feel calmer. Um, and there's still demand. The reason why it's still underground is because there's still demand. So, so John, the protagonist, becomes angry and angrier with this society, and he considers this to be, almost, yeah, he sees behind the curtain, and then he runs away to a lighthouse to live in isolation. He's able to evade tourists and reporters, but eventually they find him and they look at him as he engages in self-flagellation. The intensity of the crowd increases, and he whips himself, not only himself, but a woman as well. Um, another woman, another woman appears, and John attempts to whip her too. Okay, so basically, he just goes crazy. He just goes crazy and starts, whipping people up and down. And yeah, the next morning he dies. Um, but anyway, so what Huxley was trying to talk about in 1932, this is in between the two world wars, because the first world war was 1914 to 18, and then the second one, was years later, 39 to 45. Um, but it was an era in between when there was a technological boom. There was this, new things that was being discovered. There was cities that were being built, and people thought that technology was the savior. People thought that this new world was going to be better and better, and so even though they embraced some of the benefits of the new technology, it also brought about great societal changes. People went to the cities, and people changed the lifestyle from the increasingly the vices in the cities and so on, instead of the previous life. um, so, in Brave New World, he talks about, but it's not just a Brave New World in terms of technology, it was also a Brave New political world as well. But, that's another topic. So, there was a widespread belief in technology as a remedy for problems. The problems in the past, I would say, would be problems, of the body, whereas, people focused on feeding yourself. People feel focused on primary biological needs. Yeah, and also primary biological disorders like diseases and famine and so on. So those were the problems that people had, and so they felt that something that was above biology, something that was machine-like, metallic, something that did not have the same weaknesses and vulnerabilities as simple flesh, would be able to overcome the limitations of nature, especially of human nature. But I'm talking about human biological nature, not our mentality. Um, but Huxley, he felt that reliance was naive, and also to some extent, our mental nature. People feel that being human sometimes prevents us from doing the most that we can. People almost feel like, especially the emotional side of humanity, the aspect of feeling, increasingly, feelings are supposed to be more of a, if you're to perform a job properly, you almost have to put aside your feelings. So in a way, a machine embodies, the ultimate non-feeling entity that can just, like Robocop. You have a cop. You have cops. They are subject to human emotions, whether it's one of fear, whether it is, misjudging ways, whether it's, whatever it is, they have, human weaknesses. But if you go put in a machine like a Robocop, firstly, he's physically um, invincible. Yeah, there's the word. He's physically invincible. So, he can go into situations that he can venture, like that saying, venturing where angels fear to tread. Yeah. So, like a Robocop would be able to venture where, humans would, be destroyed if they were to tread. Yeah. So machines, basically overcome all the weaknesses of humanity, both physically and emotionally. So physically, like the Terminator. And, that's maybe one of the reasons why they even created, a Terminator-like being, because, they felt like if you're going to go into something, you should not simply go with human weaknesses. You should, create something that can overcome them. So in any case, you create this machine like thing. And also, but in the other aspect is that when you when you put the machine like thinking as the ideal, then you also idealize it. And now, humanity begins to worship the machine like emotionless aspect of humanity above the other. So humans are also supposed to become this machine like creatures. So while we create machines to be unlike humans, they're firstly, their intelligence is far superior to ours. And secondly, they're better in simply all ways. But at the same time, we're not striving to be better humans, we're simply trying to be better machines. So, we try to be better at being, and feeling, at being logical and emotional and so on. And so, increasingly, the humans are becoming less, the machines are becoming less like humans, and the humans are becoming more like machines. But eventually, the singularity. But in any case, habari Janzala. Good to have you. Yeah, I've just been how do you say it? Mono soliloquying. Yeah. You have a dialogue. Why monologuing? Yes, there we go. Monologuing. Monologuing away with theories. Yes. So yeah, we were talking about the management of happiness. It should be that monotonous. What does that mean? Monotonous? Is my voice monotonous? Is that what you're saying? Okay, sorry. Okay. Well, you're welcome to join in. Yes. So, if you were the state, how would you manage human happiness, and how important is that for the state? I already put the link up there if somebody wants to come in. So, you know, if it is monotonous. So yes. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the third time, and now not in simply in literature, but in real life, where you have the state being, being involved in happiness. And for, let me see, um, for Huxley, one of the reasons that he criticized also, and the criticism can be tempered with the fact that he was also involved in a lot of other things which we won't get about right now. But one of the things that he said for the masses, oh yeah, I know he called them that. He had quite a low opinion of them. But one of the reasons why he said, that the masses should be sometimes do participate in their own, they're complicit in their own, how should I say this? Yes, being controlled. Is that, for most people, given a choice between, let's say, anything and happiness, most of the time they will choose that thing that is happiness. It seems like a trivial thing. It seems like something that is not, it's not even, it doesn't seem like a biological need, in a way. But you have whole, movie and gaming and entertainment industries that are simply built on this idea of creating happiness. You have, advertising and marketing and all this. And it's also related, biologically, I know, to dopamine, but, It's more, intense than that. So creating that feeling of happiness is integral to society. It's integral to, to relations, to, mental state. Is integral to, how we conduct ourselves. So, there has not been enough. Yeah, there is philosophies of happiness, but sometimes when we look at it, it's either, simply, the pursuit of pleasure, because even happiness, so everyone's definition of it can be different. For some people, it's simply pursuing, pleasure. Some people, it's, security. For some people, it's a priority, and for some people, not quite. So yeah, it's still, oh, okay, okay. Okay, okay, that's cool then. Because one time only saying that my singing was monotone, which, you know what, that one is okay, because I am not a singer. It's not what I do. I do not sing. Um, yeah. So okay, okay, cool. So mono, yes, I knew to something to do with mono something. The English language is funny. So it was a monologue. Is there a difference between a monologue and a soliloquy? Monologue and soliloquy. Is there a difference between those two? I wonder. Anyway, so yes, I was monologuing, and Mwendatezi says that wacha kunywe maji ataingia. Okay, okay. Drink your water, drink your water. That's cool. Yes. So, um, when we look at even technology now, what makes us happy? It's something that is happiness is a form of societal control in a way, because if somebody had the key to what makes everyone happy, or the key to, to unlock that, then it would be very, very, very easy, to control them, because most people are controlled by that. Let's say, and happiness is also a very, varied, okay, in its definition. So, there's, for some people, it's simply pleasure. For some people, it's an emotional state. So let me see if you can see that. Can you see that? Oh, hold on, hold on. Can you see that? Okay, so the meanings of happiness. Ah, okay, okay, yes, yes. Yes, welcome, welcome, Brother Bakari. Amani Nangu. I'm not sending because earlier apparently there was an echo. So, yes, so Amani Nanguvu, Brother Bakari. Yes, so peace and black power to the chat. Peace and black power. Welcome everyone. Welcome to all of you as well. And then I thought the word was trying to move. Oh, yes, yes. So I was asking about the difference between a monologue and a soliloquy. And I think a soliloquy is talking to yourself. Monologue. Ah, okay, 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 okay. Cool, 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 cool. So soliloquy is for the, crazy, okay, not crazy ones, but, you're talking to yourself for whatever reason, and monologue is talking to an audience. Okay, so I was actually monologuing. Okay, cool. So I was monologuing, not soliloquying. I wasn't talking to myself. Or maybe I was. I don't know who is up there. Um, yeah, so this is the difference between pleasure and happiness, which I think it's pleasure is part of happiness, but it's not entirely it. We should do like Venn diagrams and things like that. Two meanings of happiness. Okay, so that's where we are. So two senses of happiness. There's either it's a state of mind or a life that goes well for the person leading it. Obviously, in a Brave New World, it's considered as a state of mind. If people feel that they're happy, whether they're under a chemical, illusion or not, then they're happy. So you can give somebody, a pill or a, or whatever, and if it makes them happy, that's okay. So, inquiry about happiness is about the study of mental state. What is a state of mind considered to be happy, and how valuable is this mental state? How much are people willing to pay for, to be happy? Now, in terms of happiness, so there's a lot of other stuff there, and all of these theories. But one of the most distinguishable aspects of it is hedonism versus life satisfaction. So for hedonists, happiness is simply the balance of the pleasant of an unpleasant experience. So they'll choose something that feels good over something that doesn't, and that's how they judge the value of experiences. For the life satisfaction, they look at life as a whole, and the favorable life that involves society. It involves other people's judgment, is the affirmation of of a certain community. So it's not just your life; it's other people's as well. And then there's the other one, the emotional state, which says with, it can be, the emotional well-being, the mood, prosperity. I think I would, maybe some people might include security in that. And then, yeah, so what makes people happy is still, debated. In some cultures, happiness is given a great amount of value. Like in the West, being happy is considered, one of the chief primary, pursuits of life. People want to be happy, people seek happiness. It's not that in other cultures people don't want to be happy, but I think that in other cultures it's not the main thing. If you're doing something and you're not happy about it, that's not the end of the world, and so on. Because the other aspect of happiness is dissatisfaction, is never being able to settle on something, because nothing, happiness is not a permanent state. Even if you're happy, you're always going to be unhappy eventually. There's nothing that can make you perfectly happy at all times. So um, some of the claims, as most people are happy, most people adapt to changes, and most people are prone to make serious mistakes in assessing and pursuing happiness. And the other thing is about, material prosperity has a surprisingly modest impact on happiness. I won't go into that. That's, to say most people's idea of being happy is usually having, um, oh, you do? You soliloquy all day. Okay. So I won't make a judgment of it. For me, I think I do it in my head, but if I actually had my own voice, talking to myself, that would be, yeah, that would be an interesting one. Yes, indeed. Oh, wonderful. That's me. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so both soliloquying and then monologuing is okay. But if somebody did see me in the real world, I am actually soliloquying because I seem to be talking to myself. But I suppose, I'm on two different levels. On one level, I'm speaking to myself, especially, but digitally, I am monologuing. Yeah. Wow. Crazy concept. Um, Pleasure is the absence of pain. No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say that pleasure and pain are, complete opposites. I think that pleasure is something that is more than pain. If our pain is simply absent, you can be, at peace, you can be calm, you can, well, maybe you can say that peace is a kind of pleasure, but no, it's not. I think that pain is, it's not pleasure, definitely, but it's not the absence of it. The absence of pain can be anything from, simply boredom, which is what, that we're experiencing now in the West. People are practically bored. That's why the algorithm is so powerful, because it understands the complete and utter boredom that people are experiencing. Amani, Bwana Haguziki. Yes. So what we are experiencing now is the reason why happiness is such a serious pursuit for many, both for the rich and the poor. This is not, a class. The only difference is the means of satisfying it. But when people say, a lot of people, when they say that money would make them happy, or that if they only had a little bit, which it would. I'm not saying that money wouldn't, but most people in attaching happiness to money, they see it as if once you have money, then you can satisfy all your base desires, and all your basic and non-basic desires. But the other aspect of it is that when you look at people who, have money, they also simply just want to spend it on, things that other people consider to be, frivolous, or not useless, but they almost like they're just spending it at one point just to spend it. Like, why does somebody need 50 bedrooms of 50-bedroom house, or all this? So even when they get it, even when they get the amount of money that should make somebody happy, they still want to get more and more of it. So it's almost like an elusive concept, because if it's something that something is supposed to make you happy, and if it doesn't, you still want more and more of it. So oh yes, yes, okay, so I'll try to do the voice. Yo. Karibu Ezuli. Say, I'm going to write it in Kiswahili, just to make you, yeah, just to promote Kiswahili. But yes, yo. So yeah, so the idea of money is, sorry, the idea of happiness is entwined into, a lot of the, of the beliefs that we have. It's entwined in our pursuit, in how we relate to other people, and and how we view life. So the state has found a good way to do it, not in just. And another thing about, he was very prescient in his time, Huxley, because he also saw that the rise of the prescription companies. It was not just Soma was not just a drug that was produced on the underground. It was actually prescribed by the government and society, and it was a time when you could simply just go and get a pill to make you happy. If something was wrong with you, there was a whole cocktail of things that you could be instantly happy, be made to be instantly happy. So it was not just drugs. And when you look at the pharmaceutical industry now, one of the things also is to manage that dissatisfaction that comes from the inability of this consumerism to fulfill some of those needs that is still not filled by consumer goods. So what? Okay, so let me catch up with the comments. So Ezuli is in the house. He was fighting Brother Bakai. Okay. And then Bona Haguziki had something to say. This guy still ain't emailed me yet. What a joker. I don't know which guy has not emailed you yet. Brother Bakari, there you go. Bonahaguziki, I need to holler at you. I'll email you tomorrow. Okay, okay, okay. Well, I don't know who's supposed to be emailing who, and so on and so forth. Yes, but if you were emailed, you should email back. There you go. Yes. So when you look at let's take this, applying it to ourselves. Even when we look at the idea of happiness, what is happiness for most Black people? It's, they are good kinds of happiness. I'm not saying that it's not all good, but sometimes, the ways of pursuing those happinesses, because there are many. There's the happiness of simply being part of a group, belonging, doing something good, being a good person, taking care of children, families, and all that. That's happiness. That's part of that life satisfaction, part of happiness where it makes you happy. But increasingly, there are people for them happiness is this, five, it's a temporary thing. It's something that you simply do. And even when people get together, they find that they want somebody else to make them happy, when maybe sometimes it's two people who are unhappy and they get together and expect somebody else to solve their problems, or to fulfill themselves in a way that they cannot. So okay, okay, so back to the, yes. Yes. All right. Cool. We have our first guest, Mwendetezi, in the house. Sasa, habari, peace, greetings, karibu. Mwendetezi, you're muted. Tezi, kama unanisikia, ebu nini unmute your mic.
Hello?
Okay, sawa, sawa, sawa. Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you
Pole,
now.
Pole. I was dealing with I was a lot of things that were playing in the background that were not supposed to be heard. uh,
We didn't hear anything,
uh,
promise.
yeah, yeah. Greetings to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, Tanzania. It's early morning huku in East Africa.
Oh,
It's early
okay.
morning.
Okay. So saizi ndio umeamka.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, sijala. I've been having some insomnia. So you've caught me when I was
That's
trying to.
typical.
I think last weekend, I don't know which weekend, I messed up my sleeping cycle. So now I have to drink coffee so that I fall asleep tomorrow at the right time.
So,
But yeah, I've come here to talk about, to say that pleasure is the absence of pain.
okay. In what way? You think that there's only, pain and pleasure? Or you don't think there's anything in between?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is not even my theory. This is a guy called Epicurus. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's where I got this. Actually, I read this. I wish I had known this is what we're going to talk about. I would have been a little bit more prepared and more convincing. But I read this a while back, yeah, like last year. But yeah, pain is the, like, pleasure is the state of not having any pain. That's really, like, it's like hunger. Like, why do you eat? Why do you enjoy eating? It's because you're hungry. Like, that's, if you aren't hungry, you really won't enjoy that food. You will not have the you. So because you're already in a state of pleasure, you know. And so that's why I say pleasure is literally just the state of not having any pain. And pain can be of any type also. It doesn't have to be just physical pain, or it can be mental pain and all that. Like, the state of being painless is actually pleasure. So that is why people pursue it, because it's the state of being painless. But even boredom is a form of what is a form of mental pain.
I, I don't know if it's mental pain. because me, I think it's just an absence of you know, stimulation. And that's not usually painful. Actually, boredom can almost be likened to peace. It's just, peace that seeks to a restless kind of peace because you're not perturbed.
Yeah, but you see, that is mental plane. Like imagine somebody, then the people in prison are happy. The people in prison.
No, 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 no. Their pain, their difference is that that one of freedom is not one of pain or pleasure. Theirs is a freedom. They're not in pain, technically. They're
No, no,
simply
no. But you see, they are bored. But that is what. Okay, I've never been to prison, but that is what I've had them confessing. Even when they, that boredom is really what gets to you, and boredom. So meaning that just the ability of nothing is also a form of pain, like you stimulate. So I don't know. Okay, like I said, if I had known this was what was happening, I could have
No, it's
done.
okay. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have one of those ones that I have prepared and I have done all of the work and all that. This one, even me, I just came at it because I was thinking about the difference between the management of not just pain but the avoidance of the creation of happiness, which is pleasure, hedonism, happiness, all of that stuff, for marketing, corporating, and the state, but also the avoidance of pain. And in the state can either just make its citizens go into a stupor where everybody is just like almost like not a walking zombie, like a functional zombie, where they have everybody doing their part. They're not just drunk and wasted all the time. They're actually prepared, and the state takes complete control of people so that there are no accidents. There's no people who are lost, people who don't know what to do with their lives, people who are simply, life is, it's almost like life is too precious to live in the hands of individuals. So everything is organized in such a way that people still do what they need to do, but they're happy to be told what to do. So you're happy, but you don't have that individual freedom. And but at the same time, you don't know that you don't have that freedom because it's instilled in you from birth. So he was questioning whether humans, if that freedom is taken away from them, they can even know that they were supposed to be free. You know, you understand?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm also questioning freedom. What is freedom?
Well, most people, for them, is the ability to make the choices in your life, to make those personal choices within you, influenced by other people, yes, but you're still the one to make that choice. We're having some beautiful ladies in the house. We have Juju in the house. Okay, we leave a picture up there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So I understand what people believe freedom is, but okay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's also freedom is also another mental. I don't. All these things I think are just mental tricks because I feel like okay, like the case of boredom, right? The case of boredom, like see maybe nothing's happening, and you will be bored, right? And then there are guys like maybe a monk who can just sit still for hours or probably days. I don't know how far they can go, but extreme long times. And somebody else in that situation will be bored, right? So what's that? What's the difference there?
Well, what he was saying was that if people are given everything, if their lives are controlled and ordered in such a way that they're given everything that they need in life, you know would they still be free, and would they still be happy? Would that be freedom? Would that be happiness at the cost of freedom? So for most people is the idea of being able to think for yourself, being able to, choose your own path. Whether you're given the choices, you still have the choices, whether to do this or that, but you still have the choice to do, to choose what you want to do. So in a Brave New World, it says that, well, no, you don't have the choice. Everything is pre and not predestined in, that whole Calvinistic way. It's more of, the state has told, tells you what it is, like that movie Gattaca, where people are genetically created to serve certain factions. Actually, maybe it had something to do with this one, because even this one, it doesn't say, genetic modification, but it's still the state using certain means to drive people towards certain, let's say, certain jobs, certain work, certain thoughts and mentality. So for you, and for that, the justification is that they are still happy. So what they don't know will, doesn't hurt them in a way. Well, the pretty ladies are coming. I appreciate the pretty ladies being here. Thank you, pretty ladies. Juju and Bejan. Uh, okay. Man, you know what? You guys, when I tell you, by the way, you're on mute, go ahead and unmute yourself if you can. Yeah, you guys are having at it in the comment section. I guess Oni is back in, you know, in the predator versus prey. Oh, well, wait. You're back. You can turn predator mode now. You'll get used. Oh, sued. Oh, that's so funny. I was reading used, but yeah. So from what I read about Epicurus, what was his? Let's see. What was his? What was his philosophy? I can't remember. I thought that it was something to do with stoicism, but I'm not sure. Um,
No. He's the opposite of. Okay, not the opposite. It's just a different form of. It's about pleasure. His thing is pleasure. His
okay.
whole thing is about pleasure. So
Yeah, that's the problem with some of these, websites. They would just want to tell you everything except what you want to know. So sources,
ah,
metaphysics.
it's about pleasure. About him is. I think I can even recommend a book. Let me see.
Okay.
John Steller's The Pocket Epicurean. That
Um, okay, type it in and I'll find it. Nothing counts from existence. The swab. Oh, he has a swab. Okay. In addition, regulation. Okay, so action, atoms. Oh, this is simply just talking about his, let's say, philosophy of mind. Identity theory of mind. The mind identified with the brain. The mind is something bodily. No, nothing to do with that. Self-refutation, ethics. Okay, let's see. Epicurus' ethics is a form of egoistic hedonism. He says that the only thing that is intrinsically valuable is one's own pleasure. Anything else that has value is valuable merely as a means to secure pleasure for oneself. Okay, so he's almost like, yeah, egoistic hedonism. However, he has a sophisticated and idiosyncratic view. Hold on, control. Okay, hedonistic and let's see. It is interested in nature of pleasure, which leads him to recommend a virtuous, moderately ascetic life as the best means to securing pleasure. This contrasts Epicurus strongly with the Cyrenaics, a group of ancient hedonists who better fit the stereotype of hedonists as recommending a policy of eat, drink, and be merry. So, Epicurus' ethics starts from the Aristotelian commonplace that the highest good is what is valuable for its own sake and not for the sake of anything else. So he's almost like a very individualistic kind of person. He agrees that happiness is the highest good and disagrees with Aristotle by identifying happiness with pleasure. And two reasons for this is that pleasure is the only thing that people do as a matter of fact value for its own sake. That is Epicurus' ethical hedonism is based upon his psychological hedonism. Everything we do for the sake ultimately of gaining pleasure for ourselves. Um, well, I don't know about that. This is supposedly confirmed by observing the behavior of infants who instinctively pursue pleasure and shun pain, and it's true of adults who, but it's more difficult to see in adults because we have much more complicated beliefs about what will give them pleasure. But you can interrupt and interject anytime. But the Epicureans did spend a great deal of energy trying to make plausible the contention that all activity, even apparently self-sacrificing activity or activity done solely for the sake of virtue or what is noble, is in fact directly directed towards obtaining pleasure for oneself. Yeah, I think there's a limit to that theory that that people simply do things for themselves. I think people do, to one to some extent, but it's not always out of pleasure. Some people do things even though it's not pleasurable. Some people do things even when, for somebody else, for, the sake of somebody else. So no, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Oh no. Okay. I think I understand. Actually, yeah. He goes deeper into that though. He doesn't just say like that, and it's very deep. He actually classifies types of pleasure, and he
Okay.
actually says that you can actually forego a pleasure for a deeper, maybe bigger pleasure. Yeah, there he ranks types of. I think it's there. I think
Mhm.
this one here where he ranks them.
Yes, types of pleasure. Moving pleasures and static pleasures. Moving pleasures occur when one is in the process of satisfying a desire, e.g., eating a hamburger when one is hungry. These pleasures involve an active titillation of the senses, and these feelings are what most people call pleasure. However, Epicurus says that after one's pleasures have been satisfied, e.g., after eating, the state of satiety, of no longer being in need of want, is itself pleasurable. Epicurus calls this a static pleasure and says that these static pleasures are the best pleasures. Because of this, Epicurus denies that there's any intermediate state between pleasure and pain. When one has unfulfilled desires, this is painful, and one no longer has unfulfilled desires, this is the most pleasurable of all, not merely some intermediate state between pleasure and pain. He distinguishes between physical and mental pleasures and pains. Physical pleasures only and pains only concern the present, whereas mental pleasure and pains also encompass the past, fond memories, the future, confidence, and so on. The great destroyer of happiness, he thinks, is anxiety about the future, especially fear of the gods and fear of death. If one can banish fear about the future and face the future with confidence, then one's desires will be satisfied. Then one will attain tranquility, ataraxia, the most exalted state. And in fact, his conception of pleasure might be less misleading to call him a tranquilist instead of a hedonist. So he says he wants to ban fear. Well, so fear is a form of pain. Monetizing.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, that's like, that's his whole thing. That's his whole thing. His whole thing is that anything that gives you discomfort is a form of pain. So whether it's boredom, fear, anxiety, he just classifies it as a mental pain. But the pleasure now is the absence of fear, absence of the boredom, absence of anxiety. Now that is what he classifies as pleasure. So the absence of pain is to him is pleasure.
Okay, okay. Um, for me, I say that there's it's too much of that individual emphasis. I think that yes, people do engage in activities for pleasure, but I think that it's limiting to say that pleasure is the only is the main motivation. I think that um, you know there's other motivations. Let me take a second. I see that we have Jan Zola. Hey, Ja. Good to have you in the house. Karibu is welcome. Just saying hi to Izuli. Oh, okay. I wanted to apologize for getting in trolling the other day. Okay, you came late. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, Bejan says that's real. And okay, Izuli, so how do you say? Let's bury the beef, or do you eat the beef? So I hope everybody is all right. Is chill and happy. I hope you're all happy and devoid of pain. Yes. For me, I say, some pain is still. What about, the necessity of pain? Because pain is not, it's not all bad. There is a need for it. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's all good, Ja, and everyone. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all good. Sometimes I think people just get carried away and things happen. So yeah, all is well. Which is a saying I still
Yeah.
don't understand. Um,
Avoid toxicity. Avoid in the pursuit of happiness, we should avoid it. Should
yeah,
always avoid
it's
toxicity.
all good.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
yeah. Don't no. As long as maturity comes, it comes and goes, but it comes eventually. So don't worry, Ja. We're all cool. People say things. I've said things that sometimes anyway, but yeah, tuko
Yeah.
pamoja, we're together, so yes, it is all good. So the reason why I'm not such an epicurist is because the people who emphasize this whole idea of um yeah, I think he will. I think he will. He might not still be here. As well, if you're here, let's see if you're still here. Yeah. So
And I think we should allow people to heal in their own time. Let's not force. Yeah, if somebody let him
okay, 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 okay,
not force
okay.
somebody to lie to.
Okay, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out. I'm just a promoter of peace, but I'm not an enforcer. I promote it, I don't enforce it. But it's all good. So, I was saying that the only problem for me, or the only objection I would have to this whole idea of pleasure versus pain, is that when people speak of their own pleasure, it becomes this very selfish, pursuit of pleasure at the expense of other people. If your whole principle is simply, oh, I'm going to get mine, I just want to pursue my own pleasure, then what, you know, what claims do other people have on your, you know on yourself, or on your conscience? Because if it's just you, then you're the ultimate arbiter of your actions. And so that makes up other people simply tools of your own, of your own happiness. Oh, peace I can fire. Look, first of all, Janzola, by the way, Tezi, you're mute if you're speaking. First of all, Janzola, I have never, ever, ever, ever called anyone that word. I have never used that word in my life. So, no, I don't say that word. I don't say the N word. Yes. Okay, good, good. You're joking. Um, no, 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 no. No, I don't think anyone thinks that, We're all cool over here. I don't think anybody thinks anything bad. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah. Um and for me, even this whole thing of focusing on happiness is it's almost like a red herring, because happiness is such an elusive concept, or pleasure is such a subjective thing.
Yeah,
That,
yeah. That's why actually. That's why. Okay, I'm not. I'm also not. Okay, I'm not saying I'm not Epicurean. I take some few things. You don't. I don't think we should follow these people loyally to the point that. But I feel like he has some a few points that he is like, okay, these are a few points that are true. But also, I also like the Stoics. the likes of Aristotle and Socrates,
Yeah.
who actually also who get who also appreciate the power of pain, right? Like
Yes.
they say hunger. I did this the other day. They say hunger is the best flavoring. Yeah. So yeah, like when you are hungry, that's when you really enjoy the food. So you see, there is the pain, there is the importance of pain, how it. So to me, I'm not saying that he's fully correct or something, but he also has a few points when it comes to the avoidance of the absence of pain is also pleasure. So it's just these are it's just wisdom you take from here and there and here and there. And you also learn. You can also come up with your own conclusions.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Oh man. Okay. We have to take an aside because apparently the comment section, they're just on the whole different, completely different vibe over there. So,
Yeah,
okay.
they are pursuing their own mental pleasure. Yes. So we're all for it, man. Yeah, it's good to apologize and yeah.
Yes, Ja has taken over the comment section. He's apologized to everyone. And I know only you do not get any apologies. Um, yeah, especially when
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're not
Yeah,
busy.
but no, it's also we can also get offended now because he has apologized to Tanzan, he has apologized to everyone. Why not? Why? Why you also want to feel special?
But here's a reason for apologizing to those particular people. He's just not making random apologies. Yeah.
You know, but I also feel nice. Also me, I apologize to everybody else. Put your own apologies. I feel like let's just
Me,
do
I
it.
don't have a reason to apologize. I don't have a reason, but I don't take offense either. So I think everybody is good. I hope everybody is good. I don't. Um, yeah, people should talk things out. No, 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 no. I know you are. um, we're being serious as well. And Yonabi was very serious. I think she was actually, you know, she was very impassioned and she spoke very well. So no, I don't. I'm not dismissing your seriousness at all. So
I think no, no, no. Let me tell you something. I know. Okay, when was the last time you had a stream?
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think Kaizo came on, and I think Ezuli was also offended during that stream because
Yes,
he mentioned it in the pro black perspective stream. So it means he still carried that. So you can see Tanzan also. You also have to accept that
I'm.
people got offended in your stream. So
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not laughing too dismissively. Yes, I do accept responsibility for that, and I apologize for my part in it, and I hope that you accept my apology. Yes, I don't. I don't want anybody to be offended by anybody else. So
Yeah, actually, yeah, this is also one thing that mental pleasure or protection from mental pain. Sometimes you can give somebody freedom of speech, but then you need to also you have also you can also look at the responsibility to protect those who maybe listening to you from the mental pain that can come
yes,
from freedom of speech.
yes, yes, I completely agree. Because
Yeah,
there's limits to everything. There's things that you can say. For me, I err on the side of not being rude, and sometimes not being rude to one person means being rude to somebody else. So yeah, I hope when people, when people talk, and even when people disagree, it's done in a respectful manner. It's not done in, it's not a personal attack. Nobody is here to attack you personally. Even if you disagree with somebody, it's just an intellectual disagreement. Even if it's a personal one, that's just a disagreement. Nobody has, nobody's bound to agree 100% with you, and you don't have the same, obligation to, to agree with somebody. So I think, part of that maturity is just knowing when to, when to just agree that, we see things differently, or sometimes we see different. My air conditioner? No, I don't think so. So yeah, sometimes we can just agree that, hey, we've reached a stalemate. We've reached, the end of this road, and we can just leave it at that. So yeah, I think that sometimes even how people, phrase things, even if you disagree with somebody, there's no need to, to get angry, to to be mad at them and so on. It's just an idea, an idea session. None of us have all the answers. If we did, we wouldn't be here. We'd be, somewhere ruling the world or something. So we're all just trying to function out here in a way. So yeah, but thank you everyone who's here. It's good sometimes to just have a chill session to just talk it out. And I'm sorry I wasn't here last week because I was just exhausted. Like that session, it really tired me. And not two things, two things about that. Not only did I have you know, uh, lose control of the whole part of that stream, but also I didn't take control of it. Okay, remember that the first part I was supposed to remember, to take notes about a certain, part of the video. I lost the paper. I wrote it in. I was just fumbling about like a I don't know, a clown with some big feet or something. So yeah, it was not. I was not prepared either. It was a bad show on my part as well. So yeah, yeah. So today is an airing session, I guess. It's like the
Yeah,
conclusion.
we need to release. I accept your apology, Tanzania. At least somebody
Oh, see, that is a cute picture. That is a cute picture. Look at those children.
Ezuli is him once telling.
That's beautiful. Okay, okay. Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about the show last week because yeah, a lot of that just went all the way sideways. Only I think that's Mondatesis, but if you can still hear it, you're fine.
Yeah, it's my dusty mic, guys.
Okay, okay, then don't worry. If you can still hear it, you're good. You're good. So yeah, let us welcome Izuli to the
Nice
stream.
picture.
Yes, he is always skeptical. Hi, Izuli. You're on, by the
Hey,
way.
what's up?
Hi, Izuli.
Yo, are we talking about the show, the last week show, or like what are we?
You can talk about anything you want to talk about. We were talking about, happiness earlier, whether to give it to the people or to deny it, and now we're talking about, last week's show. So,
I was watching. I watched the video that you put like on with the Matrix one, right?
mhm.
Where they spoke about like the Matrix one, the first Matrix that they gave to people. Hey, oh, what's up, Tezzy? My bad. The first Matrix that they give to the people was that everybody was happy, like, and but the people still rejected that Matrix because it's not natural to be happy. Like, there's something wrong with that even philosophy. Like, I do not understand if they give you everything, not give you. I don't even believe in like give you everything. Like when you give people everything, as opposed to let people being able to attain everything. Is there a difference? Do you get what I'm saying? Like I
Mm,
could give you everything,
mhm.
but I could give you where you could attain everything, the same change. Is there a big a difference between that?
Um, yes, and the difference is that if you give people a chance to attain something, you're still giving them some power over, their condition. Whereas if you just give it to them without them doing anything, that's you still having the power. So, in those both societies, there, I do not trust the people to get what they want by their own efforts. They rather provide those things so people don't have to think about them and people don't have to, wonder. So they are managing people's, anticipating people's reactions and meeting them where they are.
But
Okay.
what
Yeah.
but
And
what I'm saying
go
is,
ahead and then Jai, you're up next.
but
Mhm.
and the thing is, like they were saying that people have different meaning of happiness. But this is why sometimes I think a lot of these philosophers are just talking sexy talk just to talk. Like like if me, you, and Ten, if we sit down and write what makes us happy or whatever, we're gonna find there's a lot of similar things that we have together, or even probably me and Tezzy or other people. So when they say, "Oh, the reason," I'm just talking about, I don't know if you brought up that video that I'm talking about. Oh, everybody got their own meaning of happiness. But there's a there's a foundation that everybody share that says happy. If you see your kid becomes a doctor, most people are happy. If you have a nice home and a nice car, most people are happy. If your family life is okay, most people are happy. So like I feel sometimes people are just having, like, what's the word? Like battles just to talk. So, but in the book, those books I didn't read because we I didn't read 1984 yet. No, I read 1984. I didn't read the Brave New World yet. Which you saying the Brave New World is the one that they gave everybody everything?
Yes, it's like that mouse utopia experiment. Yeah.
Oh, so it's oh 1984 is just like so. When 1984, the people were not happy at all. The people were just going with the motion, and maybe some of them was happy because they got programmed to be happy in that lifestyle. But those the two characters in that book, there was something missing. They wasn't happy.
No, actually, in that society, the main thing was hatred. It was hatred of, the other. Remember that 2 minutes of hate where the people would just gather around and then they would.
But then they were hating because they were programmed to hate in order for them to feel happy and safe in that bullshit environment.
Yes, yes. So it was a hate directed happiness, whereas in Brave New World it was hate filled. Sorry, a love filled, happiness. Whereas you were happy, your life was fulfilled. You had no need to hate anyone, so you're basically just happy. But
Mm,
in the other one, you still have that hatred, but it's directed outside.
mm. Yo,
Look, today,
Bayesian,
we have lost control of the comment section. Like, okay, so you guys are just having a
yo,
whole.
Bayesian, you catfishing. You're not that cute. I see your picture. I don't think that's you,
Wow,
Bayesian.
Ezuli, you are wrong for that because she is.
Nah, nah. Actually, I wanted to say this, but I don't know. I've seen that picture before.
Yo, stop it, Tan. You seen Bayesian? That picture Bayesian got there. She looking fire. But I don't know if that's her. She might be catfishing.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. I saw that picture on Twitter. So I don't know if it was her
Yeah,
or it
Bayesian,
was just
stop. You look
if
stop
it's
it,
a
Bayesian.
popular picture. I don't know.
But
Whatever.
back into the thing, like y'all were talking about the thing that happened the other day. Yo, Jai, a lot of Jai said he apologized or whatever. All right, cool, but stop, guys. 1984 is not trash. That was one of the most fire book of all time. Be quiet.
Hey, see, Ezuli, this is why you shouldn't, hold something too much in esteem, because all it takes is for somebody to just destroy it, and then now you feel bad. But
No, I know. No, I'm saying I read the book. My problem with 1984 is
mhm.
that it does not give you a way to escape that bullshit. Do you get
Neither
what?
does the Matrix, but that's the whole thing. This is.
No, if you're writing a book like that
Mhm.
against, he's writing the book. At the end of the day, at the end of that book,
Uh-huh.
those two people, those two rebels, quote unquote,
Mhm.
they got beat. They still were forced back into the matrix. They forced themselves back into the matrix. He
Okay.
didn't. If you're an author, where's the way out? If you're not giving us a way out, why did you make me read 400 pages of this? That's like that's like trauma porn. 1984 was like they had like one page of bliss between him and the girl. After that, that whole book was full of pain, and that's for people. You know what? Retarded people might look at that and be like, "Oh, that was a great book." Like people who not in this world that talking about we free, we are the greatest. Da 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 da. These people might think it's a good, but that book 1984 is very sad because at the end of the day, he doesn't tell us. He doesn't even give us a hint on how to escape that. So 10, it goes back to the same video that we watched where the musician was telling all this was happening. These people were probably programmed to write these books to give us to program us to desynthesize us from what's happening right now.
I mean, sometimes, like I was asking earlier, you wonder at the intention of, the revelations, because, is it a warning? Is it a blueprint? Is it a guide? You have to wonder sometimes, because who is he writing for? Most of the people who are going to read that are going to be the people who sees it and sees, oh, these are the tools for control. This is how we can create this world. And then when you see so many of those aspects, being, realized, then, you have to wonder where it's simply a prophecy, or it was actually, somebody actually took that advice to work. Because what can the people who don't have the power really do to prevent, any of those kinds of worlds? What can people do? So, in the one of the differences in 84 and Brave New World is that Brave New World actually takes the happiness of human beings seriously. With 1984, it basically denies that humans want to be happy, or it says that, instead of that happiness, you can substitute, activities. You can substitute loyalty to the state. You can substitute, a life that is run, meticulously, and so on, that you don't need. They both deny family, to be fair to both. They both deny family. Both 1984 denies it by, the children belonging to the state, and the same thing with Brave New World. But, they do it in different ways. Yeah, but in any case, oh wow. Brave New World was written by Aldous Huxley. It was written by Aldous Huxley. And if you remember, Huxley was the grandson of, what's his name, of Thomas Huxley. Where's that tab? Was the grandson of Thomas Huxley, who was the proponent of, Darwin's evolution. So Thomas Huxley basically did. Hold on one second. Let's see.
Yeah,
So
I've read The Alchemist. Finally, something I've read. Yeah, 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 man. I read I've read The Alchemist and I watched The Matrix.
okay, okay.
The Alchemist is a good book. And back to
Yeah, man.
your Oni is saying that I'm saying that 1984 is a great written book. It's a good book. It's nicely written, but I'm saying the story is very pessimistic. I'm not, but I'm saying is people would read this book and say the story is awesome. But I'm saying reading that book, the book is pessimistic because he doesn't tell you how to get out of that reality. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The alchemist actually tells you how to get out of that. The alchemists tell you create your own reality.
Okay. And then how do you do that? Wait.
The alchemist says if you could imagine it, it will happen.
Yeah, yeah. That's my like the Alchemist is like my favorite book. It's the
Okay.
book that got me.
Okay.
It's the
Okay.
book that got me into books. You know, it has some great quotes. It says that every book you read is a life you've lived. So it's a very beautiful book.
Okay. So, have any of you read The Laws of Pimping by Pimping Ken? Pimping Ken. That is okay. Okay. That's hilarious. Oh, it sounded almost like a made up name, but I guess
No,
when
it's made up. It's
I
made up. Yo, gas is making shit up. No one's into gas.
see, so there is
But
no Pimping
Yo,
Ken.
you know,
Bokari's in the building. Bokari slayed me on his show the other 2 hours ago.
Apparently,
Yo,
Pimpin Ken is an awesome author. Wow, I didn't think I'd ever read such a sentence. Pimpin Ken is an awesome author. Okay. Azuli, does your brain tell a heart cell heart? What? What? I don't even understand that one. Does your brain?
meaning he's trying to say that heart cells do what heart cells are supposed to do. Testicles do what testicles do to do. You
Oh,
can't convince a cell to do what it's not born to do.
okay, okay, cool,
I
cool.
think that's what he's trying to say.
Okay. Email. Yes, get each other's emails and email Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I hope that's how now they become cancerous. What becomes cancerous? Oh, okay, okay. When everything doesn't work properly. Um,
They
thank you.
can't become. They can't.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll Google pimping Ken. Pimping. Yes, pimping Ken.
Yo, why did you even read that book? Pimping Ken. Let me see. Yo, shut the hell up. Oh my God, Pimping Ken. That's not a book though. That's a person. Is it a book? Or
I'm looking it up right now.
he got a book called Pimpology: The 48 Laws of the Game.
Okay. I didn't snake you. What does snake means? Okay, I'm trying to keep up
Or
with
he
it.
didn't snake me, meaning he didn't backstab me,
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Snake.
snake
Yes,
me.
it's really the honorable. Okay, okay.
Brother Bakari, man, you didn't, chill. You didn't tell that story the whole right way, bro. You didn't tell that story the whole right way of that man. That man was not. Again, I get your argument for the other brother, for what's his name, for Tony, but Anthony, nah, man. That man was doing black on black crime when he got caught up. So, but I understand. Yo, guys, shut up. Anyway, guys said you like being Snake. What? The 48 laws of the game, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
But he's not using that law on the.
Okay, snaked apparently is somebody being backstabbed. Okay, you see, you all have a negative view
Yo, I
of.
know that brother's not selling that 130-page book for $30. I know he's not doing that.
is is this Iceberg Slim the same person as Pimpin Ken?
No, that's not the same person.
Okay. Okay, well, let's see what this Pimpin Ken has to say. Apparently, you know, this I know, there's a book with what's his name, 48 Laws of Power, but that's by somebody else. That's by a
I
white
guess that's
guy.
what he's trying to copy. I guess.
Oh, okay, okay, got it. Yeah, because 48 Laws of Power by I can't remember his name, but it was definitely not a Pimpin Ken. And oh, it's produced by an off branch of Simon and Schuster. Okay, so I see by the contents. Okay, So why we? What about this whole book? Pimps are born.
Gas him up said it. Gas him up talk about because we're talking about books. He said you should.
Okay, okay. Well, there you go. That's that's the book, and
But
yeah.
yeah, that's the other show. At the end of the day, I just felt that these brothers. That's the way they spoke. That is heartbreaking. But you expect that those same people that say they want to conquer Africa, then conquer the Caribbean. These are the same people that's gonna sell us out. So people who are rocking with him, hey, that's you. I don't rock with that, especially when your mentality. You say you're gonna take somebody's natural resources. First of all, you're gonna strong arm it. You're gonna give them 15%. You're gonna take 65%, and then you're gonna give the other. Yo, shut your ass up, man. That's loser talk. That's grifter talk. That's slime ball talk. And when we wasn't shoot the breeze, I showed you what these people did to conquer the world. So you're gonna do that same atrocity to your own people because you wanna. I could understand if he was morally and a morally upright citizen. I could understand if Thomas Sankara built up had a great empire and he was going around doing that because I know Thomas Sankara is an upright brother. But why not? You're not gonna conquer nobody. What you're gonna be? You're gonna be a pillager, a rapist, a genocidal person. That's what you're gonna be. You're not gonna realize nothing. You're gonna do the same thing that your slave master told you to do. That's what you're gonna do. I'm not crying, but I'm saying is if it's a brother like Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, okay, because their colonizing would be to actually change the mind of most of us into something positive. I'm not gonna let somebody who wants to use your colonizer's mentality to colonize his own people so he could eat. So that's no, he was not trolling, Ja. He was not trolling. So you think it's a joke? Yes, he was not trolling. He was not trolling. That brother was not trolling, not one bit. Because we spoke to him prior before, maybe 6 months before on the Matrons channel. He was not trolling. He was not. So if that's what he wants to do, and my thing is, if that's what you want to do, you could do that. But no, you're gonna have opposition when you come to colonize, and you're gonna have to kill, rape, burn down a lot of black people to institutionalize that BS you want to do. I'm talking about Kaizo, Ja. That's what I'm talking about. Kaizo and that other brother that came in, all of that. If that's what you want to do, fine. You want to, hey, if that's what you want to do, fine. You're not doing that to me. Go to the Bahamas, team up with Boana. But when you come to the Haitian shore, know you're gonna get some beef. Say that over there. So that's what it is. And the same brothers, so that Boana talking about he's down with that. So you down with what they did to the brother Tariq Knowles too? That's part of the colonizing too. That's what you're gonna have to do to your brothers. Beat them like that on the ground.
Hello.
Hello, Ja. You're on.
Oh, habari, habari.
Nzuri sana. Karibu.
Yo,
Um,
Jackson, be quiet.
it was really. Are you talking about the? I'm not even sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the situation that happened in the live stream, or are you talking about something else?
I'm talking about what that happened in the last. I mean, I don't know if she did a stream last week, but the one where Kaizo came and said he's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
he's gonna conquer Africa. He's gonna. My thing is with this whole situation. If you are you gonna the way his mentality is, that's not somebody that should go around colonizing Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
His mind is. He said, "Did you hear? I don't know if you were here when he said oh, they're gonna go to the Congo, take their natural resources since they don't know what to do with it. He's going to take 65% of the revenue, give the Congo people 15%, and then give the white people that built the infrastructure in Kenya or whatever 20% or whatever he said it was. What that really? That's what we're doing?
Yo, but I'm not even gonna lie, right? He was trolling, right? And I'm not defending him and nothing like that, but I'm saying I've I've been on his channel a lot, and I see what the things he be saying. He was trolling, bro. He like if you show him any type of emotions, he's gonna try to manipulate it. He's gonna try to like mess with you. You get what I'm saying? But he's not the only one I've heard say that. Like they want to colonize Congo and stuff like that. Like I've heard like Horners say that too. So
What I'm saying is I didn't. He started talking about Haitian. Oh, I'm Haitian. I eat mud cookies. I never brought that up. Why are you bringing that up?
yeah, I don't know. I
I
didn't hear
don't
that
think he's
part.
trolling. If you
I didn't
think
listen. I didn't hear that part. And then when I came in and like, I mean, when I like rewatched the stream and listened to it, I was like, damn, I felt disgusted. Like I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like I felt real disgusted. I'm like, yeah, I gotta make it right with Azuli because you know, I know Kazo be trolling, but some people, they don't play that way. You know what I mean? Like you can't just disrespect people's like country and stuff. So
but if you heard me, Ja, I was like, I rather eat mud cookies than be under your rulership. Because
yeah, true.
you know what the funny thing is? People are making fun of Haitian people eating mud cookie, but guess who's selling mud cookie right now to American people on Amazon? White people.
Yeah, yeah.
So you didn't go at them. I'm just saying you listen to what he said he's gonna do, Ja. He's gonna take the Congo's natural resources. He didn't even say I'll go 60-40 with them for like 10 years or maybe for like 20 years. And then
Mm.
after that, we'll build their infrastructure and let them do it on their own. He said he's gonna take all the natural resources, give them 15%, take 65, and he's gonna give the rest to the Caucasian or the Asian who built the infrastructure for him. Where are they gonna do that at? You think the people who built your your infrastructure? No, what's gonna happen? I'll tell you what's gonna happen. The Congo's gonna get 15%. You're gonna get 15%, and they're gonna get the 70%. What army does Kenya have to go take over Africa?
I mean, well, they right now they have like a army inside Congo. They're fighting the M23 rebels in like the eastern part of Congo.
And so why are they fighting the M23 Congo? So they're telling you they liberating the Congo? That's what they're telling you?
Well, I think they're trying to make the region safer for everyone, but I'm guessing that they probably want some of that resource too. And then recently they just found like this mineral. People are calling it vibranium. Did you hear about that?
No, I saw it. They said they found that. They say they found something that they something like a rock that gives electricity by itself, like something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. So like I don't know for everybody else, but to me, Congo is like that's like the Garden of Eden right there, bro. Because literally everything is there, bro. Like literally, and it's crazy, man. There's things that they have in their soil that probably hasn't even been discovered yet. Like like natural resources and minerals and stuff. It's just so rich over there.
So I'm just saying, even about that, the only thing that was very disrespectful is when they came and they trying to overtalk people. That that's a no no. But that's like nah. That was a no no. But you could let people come and spew their BS. I didn't think I didn't think anything personally. I didn't think anything personally. I didn't think nothing personally. But like, who is Kaiser to be talking about? What did his people? He was not even rocking with the Mama soldiers that were fighting the British invasion. Who is this man saying they're gonna take over? I mean, for Bowana to back a man that was not even backing the Mama for trying to fight the British invasion, and then Bowana want this man to go around colonize. That's the mentality you got to look at.
Oh shit.
What kind of mentality? He was against that. When previously when we was on that other show, he was talking about. You know what Sven Kaiser said? He said there was nothing wrong with slavery. At least we got technology out of it.
Still, bro,
So
I'm
this
telling
is
you,
your man.
Kaiser,
This is your man.
he's an idiot, bro. He just trolls. That's what he does, bro.
No, there's
Like I'm not defending it. I'm not saying it's right what he said.
but Ja, when you saying
After I listened to what he was saying, I had to come back and apologize to you. Like, you know what I mean? For
but
my
Ja, when you're
involvement in it.
saying he's trolling, you're saying to it's like, oh, he don't mean it. Like to
He don't.
troll.
I don't think he doesn't. He doesn't, bro. Like I
All
talked
right,
to this
bro.
brother like outside of like this YouTube realm or this Afro sphere realm. Like I talked to him. That's my guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't. He's just trolling. He's trying to play like he's trying to manipulate you and play like mental gymnastic with you. If he sees that you react a certain way to like what he's saying, and if he senses a little bit of emotions or weakness, he's gonna try to attack that and say whatever he can say to get under your skin.
So,
Like he finds joy.
but Ja,
He finds joy in that. If you go to his channel, he trolls literally everyone. Like he trolls
but Ja,
African
let me ask you a
Americans, he
question.
trolls
What is the
Somalis, he
point of
trolls.
that? What is the point of that?
I don't know. Some people get a kick out of it. I don't know, man.
So we on Tan's channel, we on Gas Him Up channel, we on Bakari's channel, we on Goku's channel discussing stuff that's happening to our people.
Yeah,
What's the point of trolling to that level?
yeah. I don't. It's petty, man. I don't know.
So
Right. I'm not here to defend like him or anything like the whole conversation. I just wanted to apologize for my
no, it's
involvement
cool.
or whatever the
Yo,
case may
I'm
be.
Ja,
You're my brother. You're Haitian, bro. I have nothing but the most respect for Haitians, bro. That's one, like Haitian people. Like I'm from Boston, bro. You know what I'm saying? We have like the second or third highest Haitian population,
yeah, that's
bro.
fair.
Haiti is in my heart, bro. Like when I like the countries that's in my heart is Haiti and Congo, always, bro.
I'm just telling people to beware of people like that. I mean, he might be trolling. Let's say he was trolling or whatever. But bro, what's the point of trolling like that? The point, like especially you on Ten's channel, we discussing something that could be important. Okay, I couldn't say you troll on the chat. You troll this. What's the point? But I get it.
Let's invite.
Yeah, let Gas talk because I think Gas know more longer than I've have.
Absolutely. Don't fall for John Zola. John Zola works for Kaizo.
Yo, stop it.
He from New York. He a grimy New York dude. You can't
Yes.
trust him. That's how they get down. They try to. That's you remember what Jay-Z said? That's how they fool thugs. They show you love, then you end up lying in a pool of blood.
Yeah.
That's what John trying to do. He from Uptown. You can't trust him, Azuli.
Yo, don't listen to him, Azuli, bro.
He from Uptown. Trust me. I know how these dudes get down. You know how Alpo did everybody dirty? That's John Zola.
Nah, I'm not no Alpo. I ain't no snitch. Fuck out of here.
Now, well, he ain't the snitch, but he Alpo and Zola. He just grimy.
You see what happened to Alpo at the end of the day?
I mean, either way, he's still grimy. Can't trust him, Azuli.
Alpo was like, I'm a snitch, but I'm not snitching on nobody from New York.
Yeah, but he snitched on the worst, like the most worst guy that you could ever snitch on, bro. Wayne Perry.
But
Yeah, that dude was a like a psychopath, man. He killed a lot of people in like DC.
Man, none of these people were worse than Francis Pizarro or Hernan Cortez. All these black guys are a bunch of fucking momos. He's a gangster. He killed 2 people. Like these dudes, they don't even make the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. It's some 5'7" white guy from Boise, Idaho, and Geraldine, Alabama. That's the big serial killer. I'm not impressed by this, angry Negro nonsense. But
That's true.
yeah, I just said, yo, shout out to Brother Bakari, man. I hope you put me on every episode. Please shout me out and put my name in every episode you do. I love the free promotion. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
beautiful.
So Gascon. So I have to defend myself because I hear my name getting called. Yeah, getting called all over the place. Yeah, I really like to call my name. He just loves the sound of it. I
oh
think he
my.
likes the sound of my name. But if anyone wants to hear my argument, just listen to the program. Listen to the program and decide for yourself what the fuck I was saying. What I was saying was that many African countries are ruled by despots. These people are incapable of governing their societies, and for the most part, they take, and leave their respective countries underdeveloped. With that mindset, now if I don't think I misunderstood him. He said that East Africa or the East African areas, they seem to be on a developmental incline. And he said that in his mind, that he would spread that to other Africa. Now, if he's doing it in like in a colonizing way, I don't see a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Sam, take,
I
take. I
don't.
don't want you to put that on the screen. He feels is throwing him under the bus.
No problem. Whatever. I can. Like I say, I'm here. I can defend myself. So if he take that program and extend that throughout the length
No,
and
no,
breadth
no. I
of
was
the.
talking to Tan. I wasn't talking to you.
No, I
Tan,
know, I know, I
Ja
know.
was saying that you put that on the screen. You throwing him under
Oh,
the bus.
okay. Which one?
Not really throwing me under the bus. I just like I came here to like genuinely apologize to Azuli. I don't want to make a joke out of it and not like that.
We cool.
If
We good.
if
You
he
know.
takes
We
that
good. We
attitude,
good.
if he takes that, if he took that
What
attitude,
was I
if
supposed to put up?
No, I just wanted to take that down. Like, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay, 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 cool.
That's it.
All right, I took it down.
if we take that attitude and extend it to the length and breadth of the African continent, and including the so-called Caribbean countries, where they are heavily criticized by Erzuli for all the defects they have, because he talks about these so-called Caribbean countries all the time and their defects. I don't consider that to be a bad thing if that colonization is developmental, if it's progressive, if it's helping the people. Now the mind say he can take 15%. That's his talk. That's his in his mind. If he feel like he can accomplish that, we'll see. But until then, this we are just talking, we are just speculating. But I find it interesting and curious because I threw Killmonger in the mix. Killmonger is a person of Zuli himself. He champions Killmonger. What Killmonger was trying to do in that movie, I forget the name of it now. I can't remember the name.
Wakanda. I mean,
Wakanda,
Black Panther. Black Panther. I'm sorry.
Black Panther, Wakanda. He was going to take the technology of Wakanda and spread it throughout the length and breadth. First of all, he was going to use it as an offensive mechanism to basically go into different societies or whatever with their weaponry and do what he needed to do to the enemies of the black people in the different areas in which he lived. But his mindset, listen to Killmonger's dialogue. You know what I mean? He had a colonialist mindset, but he wanted to form and reform and fashion the world in his image, where black people was on top. Do you think that he was going to do that peacefully? Do you think that he was going to do that without no resistance from the people who live in these areas? Or was he going to do it the same way Rhodes them did it, or Winston Churchill them did it, and refashioning the areas of Europe and other areas where black people was? How do you think he was going to go about doing that? He was a colonizer himself, but you champion him. I find that curious and a big contradiction. So I want you to speak on
So
that,
he,
Azul.
he hit you with that shot right there. That was a good shot, Azul. You got to get off the ropes right now. You got to stand the 8 count, Azul. That's a hit shot. He hit you hard, bro. You got to hit back.
First of all, that was not even a hit. That was not even a hit. That was like he missed. That
Damn, boy. He's saying that you was tapping his chin. That's nothing.
that was a different. That's comparing Killmonger and what Kaiser want to do is totally not the same. Killmonger did not want to go steal other people's natural resource and then use the economic laws created by colonizers to steal and pillage to suck them dry. He didn't do
Kill,
that. Killmonger
Worse. He
said,
was worse. He
no, he's
destroyed
not.
the natural.
No,
He
he's not.
destroyed the natural
No,
resources
he's
of
not.
Wakanda. He
No, he's not.
destroyed the natural resources
No,
of
he's.
Wakanda.
Go
What
ahead.
he did?
Talk, or you're gonna keep talking. You said
I'm
you
gonna
was
let you talk. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so Killmonger said he was gonna use the weapons of the
vibranium
vibranium
to liberate the
to
to
liberate
assist the liberation
of black people.
of black people. Yeah.
Which part of Kaizo said anything about liberation?
Finish.
Which did Kaizo say I'm gonna liberate people? Kaizo said I'm gonna take people over and do the same thing that they did to his people, and he's gonna do it to Africa and other black nation and the name of, oh, I'm getting them away from that spirituality bullshit. Of course there's gonna be fighting. Killmonger didn't say he's gonna try to do. Killmonger said I'm freeing people. There's a difference. For you to compare Killmonger's mentality to use that to call me a hypocrite is really asinine. It's apples and oranges, my brother. I don't understand it.
One that was a body shot. He hit you with a big word.
Yeah, he did. He did hit real big. Right? But listen, he is gonna liberate people by the gun. So my question becomes, okay, because we using this word liberate now, because that's really another word for dictatorship. But we're gonna use this word liberate because when you go into different people's territories without somebody asking you to come to there, and some people in these areas where you're gonna so-called liberate, they don't feel like they're being oppressed.
That's
The
a
man in
lie,
the
Juana. That's
let
a
me
lie.
finish. I let you
No,
talk.
you're
I
lying.
let you talk, bro. I let you talk. In some countries, some men feel like they're doing well in their respective countries. So for you to come in and to upset what is going on, they could feel like you are oppressing them. And the fact that he made a unilateral decision. One man is making that decision, not a group of men, not people deciding, well, we want you to come in and do these things for us. He making his unilateral decision to go into other people's territories and do what he needed to do. Now, for me, that's a dictatorship because it all stops to one man. That's one. Two, when he went and he burned those leaves. I think when my man's going to the supernatural or the spiritual world, he burned all of that shit. Who asked him to do that? Because that's a natural resource of Wakanda as well. So he is more destructive. You know what I mean? Because he ain't trying to use that natural resource where it's beneficial to the people or beneficial to someone else as opposed to just the family. He burnt it all. And in doing it, even knock over an old woman and kill an old man. Now you could say, well, the
See
guy
now what
was
you're
there.
doing right now?
Yeah,
What you're
And
doing
what
hold
am
on.
I doing?
yo,
Hold on. I kind of feel bad about that
I'm not
because
even
I
gonna
was looking
bring
for
back
that
up
roots,
with you.
and when I went back to Africa, I couldn't find it because Killmonger burnt it. So, you know what I'm saying? That's fucked up.
If the pentagrammers is doing their rants, why we can't go at our so-called metaphysical
Oni is in
rants,
the
man?
back, but
You're going your rants all the time, gas.
hold on. Oni is in the back, but we have the limited chip stream.
I'll
So
leave. I'll leave.
who's that? Who's that?
It's Ja.
Oh, Ja. Are you sure? Do you want some last words before you
No,
leave?
I'll just tune in and probably jump back on later.
Okay, that's okay.
All
That's
right.
fine.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
So yeah,
You're
thanks for joining. Who was speaking? Oh, actually, we do have space for one more. But okay,
Peggy left.
yeah. So I guess
Saying,
we're still
I'm
on.
just saying, your
But
man's burned.
Haguziki just
He
left.
burned it.
But Haguziki is still here. But you're talking about Killmonger, but on the other stream you're talking about a colonizer who's not coming to. He's actually coming to do something similar to what Killmonger was doing, to just come and ban everything. So how do you support both a colonizer and a destroyer?
Dan, stop saying that. Killmonger's not coming to be. Oh my god. Yo, I gotta get off. It's not the same thing.
It
Okay.
is the same thing. It
Killmonger
is the
is not
same
the
thing.
same
Well,
thing.
I wasn't talking about
You're just
Killmonger.
saying that because you want to
I
support
was just talking
your coon mentality about, oh, let this
Why we get now? I'm getting name called now. Now I'm getting
what
called.
you're saying is no,
Oh, call you a coon.
what
That-
you're saying is equal to when the drug dealer says, oh, they might as well get it from me. That's what you're saying. It's like when the drug dealers say, "Yo, why are you selling drugs to your community and killing us?" Well, they was gonna get it from the white man. They might as well get it from me.
And that's why I got me a Kardashian, because if she, if this white girl that I'm sleeping with is going to get a black guy, she might as well get it from me. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
real shit. I appreciate that, Azuli.
facts. So for you to copy a Killmonger went said he's going to get his stuff to free black people. So now, maybe a couple of people in those countries are gonna be like, we good. Yeah, the corruptors, the corrupt people who are
Come
making money
on.
off the back of the majority of the people. But we all know the majority of the people in all these African countries and those Caribbean countries are not living super well. So of course there's gonna be some pushback. But you know what? If you had told me, Boana, if you had said Thomas Sankara is willing to colonize Africa and do what he did in Burkina Faso, I will agree with you 100%.
Yeah, because you're a socialist. You one of these communists. I'm not a communist. I don't like
Stop
that.
being retarded
I
and
would,
calling me a communist.
I,
Communism
I,
has never been achieved. I'm not a fucking socialist. Stop saying that shit on the line like that.
what was Thomas Sankara, brother?
What are you talking about? Because go look what he said.
Thomas Sankara
So
was a
taking care of
socialist,
your
brother.
own people, making the people work for the land, making the people build the country themselves instead of using loans from predatory loans is a socialist and a communist.
No, I'm
Y'all
saying,
niggas is wild. That's why y'all niggas is of everything that the white man is doing to y'all.
no, but
Stop
I
all
mean,
this, man.
no,
Y'all niggas is corny, yo.
don't get
Yo,
mad at me. Don't get mad.
this is corny,
I'm
man.
just
Fight,
saying.
fight, fight.
I'm out, man.
No, it's no fight. Don't go, Julie, man. We just talking.
And
Ah,
yeah,
man,
y'all
why
running
you,
this
man?
shit.
Dang.
Man. See, these are the reasons why I don't like to have these emotive conversations, because if we say something or we reach a point of disagreement, the brothers just get mad and start cussing and carrying, or they leave. What's the point of that? We can't have a conversation where we just disagree. What's the problem? You know what I mean? I don't understand it, man.
You call him a socialist.
Mwendotezi, what happened to the pursuit of
Oni,
happiness?
wasn't Thomas Sankara a socialist? He had a Che
Sure
Guevara
was.
chant. What are we talking about, Oni? I mean, come on, bro. You know that though. You know that though. The brother
Yeah, I
was
knew
a
that.
socialist.
Look, I know that. I mean,
So
you said he said if Thomas Sankara was a colonist, you were like, yeah, that. But he's a socialist. And he's like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah. So he going so now, because he mentioned Thomas Sankara, but when he mentioned that, okay, he's a socialist. So was Fidel Castro. Him, Fidel Castro was a communist, but so was what's my man from Grenada, Maurice Bishop. You know
But
what I mean?
hold on. But Juan, when you say that, can you show me a capitalist country or a capitalist leader?
Let's not go there, gas.
No, 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 no,
One
no.
issue at a time.
No, no,
One
no.
issue at a
You accuse the man of
one.
being a socialist or a
He was
communist,
that is
and you said you are
because he
not a
mentioned.
socialist or a
I'm
communist.
not
I
a
agree.
socialist. I'm
I
not a
it's no
socialist.
problem. But can you give me a capitalist country and a capitalist leader?
Are you not living in one right now?
Which one?
It's called the United States of America.
The United States is not a capitalist country.
The United States is a country that is quasi. I wasn't say quasi.
Now it's quasi. Oh, so you
No,
throwing?
no. Look, hear me out. Hear me out.
Uh huh.
The United States, as an economic system, they
Hmm.
practice capitalism. They have socialist policies that exist within it, but as an economic system, they practice capitalism.
That's not true.
That's
You
your
show.
opinion. That's
You
your
show.
opinion.
No. Has nothing to do with opinion. Can you
Let me
show
ask you a
me?
question. Let me
Can you
ask you
show
a question.
before you ask me a question? Can you show me
Uh-huh.
where farm subsidies and subsidizing?
Oh
You know,
goodness.
I'm just asking you. Can you show me where subsidizing is a mainstay of a free market? Because the free market guys are Hayek and the Chicago School, right? They're the ones that embrace the free markets. Nothing that the Austrian or the Chicago School that they prescribe that countries should be following, the United States doesn't follow it. The United States, in many instances, looks like a socialist country. Even the so-called Federal Reserve, that's a socialist. A central bank is a form of socialism. It's not a capitalist. It's a group of men coming together to organize what they feel the interest rate should be. They're not allowing the markets to determine what interest rates should be. So I'm just trying to say, where's the capitalism in that?
Good. So me, as a so-called citizen of your country, I could come into the United States right now and I could get a business license for little and less than nothing and go on the streets of America and sell my product, whatever it may be, unencumbered and make as much money as I want to and pay a little to no taxes and keep my money. In socialist societies, that's not gonna happen, brother. It's not gonna happen. You know, now that may be a rudimentary, elementary form of capitalism, but that's a capitalist.
Confusing.
That
I
I
think.
tell, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I think you're confusing economic license and property rights with capitalism.
Well,
So in
educate me.
no, you have, like you just said, you can come and get, an economic license to engage in business. And quite often the governments accept that. Why? Because most businesses pay taxes. So, contrary to your opinion, you will be paying taxes. You'll have to pay your payroll taxes. You pay your Social Security taxes, your FICA, your state and local tax, the SALT taxes. So, this idea that you can start a business and not pay taxes, please don't give anyone that advice. They'll just end up, getting a letter from the IRS. But in the United States,
No,
you just pretty much have,
I said you could pay. I said you have to pay taxes, but I
I
have no
think
problem. I
what
have no problem paying
separates.
taxes.
No, no, but you said you would pay little or no taxes. But what
Little taxes,
separates.
yes.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not little, but what separates the United States, I believe, is simply there's economic license, and then there is property rights, which is enforced by the courts. That's what separates the United States from other so-called nations. That's what separates the UK. They have a speedier court system that's reared and geared towards commerce and commercial activity. That's what makes the United States the best country so far to do business in. If the Chinese were to, make their court system where as a foreigner you could go in and get recourse if there was an ill will in terms of business, China would be one of the best countries to do business in. But because they don't have an advanced court system that's favorable towards commerce, that's what we see as the problem. So it's interesting because people don't put the two to connect them to say that actually, what we're calling capitalism today, and we've talked about this on the pentagrammers, right? We've explored this, how you had people like Edward Koch. They were implementing the use of admiralty merchant law, right? The Lex Mercatoria. They were implementing that on their common law, so they co-opted it and then they started using that. So that's really what capitalism is. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, this notion that the United States, or there's never been any capitalist country. It's never existed.
Okay, so I say the United States is not a purely capitalist country, but it runs through it has a capitalistic economy, and I still stand by my example. I could go on any street in America and open up a business and pay whatever business taxes or corporate taxes that I may need to pay the start of my business, and I differentiate that from the social societies that I've been a part of, that it's heavily government involved and you have to go through all kinds of rigmarole because the government is deeply in your pockets. Like a place like Canada, where the taxation level I think is like at 60%. They take 60% of your money, as opposed to the United States, based on I think it's based on your salary. You could pay somewhere on the lines of 27% of your money. For me, that like I say, the United States is not purely capitalistic. And when you talk about subsidies and things like that, sure, it's not purely capitalistic, but I believe it's capitalistic enough for me to want to function inside of it as opposed to a socialist society where the government and government intervention is very, very heavy. So that for me, that's a difference. Maybe that's rudimentary, maybe that's elementary, but that's how I understand it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, but that's part of how people, are deceived into believing that they have a say in the so-called, capitalist system. I call it, especially black people, we're just, look, listen, bunch of consumers who are thinking that we can align ourselves with the interest of real socialist and capitalist. Isn't it funny, right? Like when you think about the Illuminati, Bilderberg, CFR, those are all socialist institutions. The World Bank, IMF, they're all socialist institutions, but their main goal is to exploit, and they're pulling capital together. Whereas what we accuse socialist countries, which their main point is to organize labor. right? But every accusation you can label at a, a union or a socialist country, it's pretty much run the same way. You have nothing but oligarchies that are running around. So all of these institutions, they're pretty much functioning like socialist organizations. It's a group of people coming together, pooling their capital to exploit and take advantage. If that's not fascism, communism, socialism, I don't know what is. Again, the only difference is that they allow the people the illusion that, oh, because you have economic license, you can now take that and, because of, there's a strong emphasis on property taxes and the ease of doing commercial law within the court system, the courts respect that. So people, that self-made man, manifest destiny, millionaire. It's not, many of the words that, that we come from the French, right? As you can see, the French first millionaires were started with a guy named John Law, right? And he was a crook. But I'm just saying, Barnum, we can't just, you're an intellectual. I know you like to tell yourself you're
I'm
not
not
to
an
escape it.
intellectual. I'm
Well, you
not an
tell yourself
intellectual.
you're not. You tell yourself you're not to escape the
No, the reason,
responsibility.
the
But
reason, the reason, the reason why I say I'm not an intellectual is I know many intellectuals. The intellectuals in academia, they do nothing for their society. They do nothing. They sit up in university, they pontificate while the society itself goes to hell, and they have no voice. They have no voice. They're not proactive. They do nothing. All they do is pontificate. This is the reason why I don't like to put myself in the realm of intellectuals. But
yeah,
let me just let me oh let me finish, bro. Let me finish. Let
Damn,
me
why don't you always call me an intellectual? What the fuck?
no. I talk about the
Juan is
what I
deceiving
say.
himself.
What I
He's
say is
lying to himself. This
no.
is the reason.
What I say is when I talk about y'all, when I say you're intellectually minded. But when I talk about intellectuals, what I'm referring to are the people in the universities. I don't know if y'all in the universities or not, but it's been my experience that the so-called intellectuals, the public intellectuals that exist or private intellectuals that exist, they sit in their silos, safe in academia. They never get on. I think the last person who was a public intellectual and who would the mind coming among the people was Walter Rodney. People like him, grounded with my brothers. You know what I mean? Trying to really effectuate the society itself. But for the most part, from what I have what I have seen in my society and other societies as well, the academics, the so-called intellectuals of these societies, they stay safely in academia and they do nothing to effectuate the lives of the people, even though they know better, even though they know the leaders of their countries are mishandling and mismanaging. Well, let me don't get into that. What else?
Yeah,
No,
We was
but
talking about
you
capitalism.
understand
We was
that
talking
that's
has
about
where the young
nothing.
ladies
capitalism.
are, right?
We was talking
But
You
about
hold
understand
on.
that's where the young ladies are, right?
Trying to do, Oni. He's trying to escape. Listen, if you have completed a college degree, you're an intellectual. I don't care how much you go to Harlem and dance with Sarnetto on 125th Street and say that's right with the Hebrew Israelites and put on your black beret and march and give away free turkeys and some grits and diabetic food to the grandma on every third Sunday. You're an intellectual, whether you want to accept it or not. Like you chose to profess the faith and take your first degree like a mason and get conferred with your cap and wear your black robe like a mason. You chose to do that, so you have been initiated, dude. You can't escape it, my friend. You get what I'm
no.
saying? You down with us?
I hear what you say. I'm down with you. I hear what you say, brother. All I'm saying is, it's been my experience. We was talking about capitalism. It cost me to just lose my point just now. We going on for a whole other thing, intellectual. I
Yeah,
don't remember
see,
what
he
I was
joined.
saying.
He became a pentagrammer and realized he was a
I
mason.
can't remember
He
what.
got his degrees. You got your first degree.
I've been to school. I've been to school. I've been to
First
school.
degree
I've
mason.
been,
Tan for the record. Buana Hagaziki
no,
acknowledges he's a first degree mason.
no. I've
He
been
wore
to
his
school.
black robe and
Nah.
walked across a wooden plank and was conferred, and they gave him a diploma. Oh man, Tan, put it on the record. Buana, he
Yeah.
took his oath.
Yeah,
To be
he's
fair,
taking his rights.
no. To be fair, I think it's how the so-called your qualifications is used. It's how it's used, brother. I think that even though went through that system, gotten a so-called education, I have spent a lot of time in educating myself as well outside of that system. So, I try to, I'm gonna say I carry a balance. What I can get away with, I get away with. But I use my practical mind and practical wisdom because I live in a society that is so-called anti-intellectual. Most of the people here have not been to university or colleges. So you have to be able to relate to people on that level as well. If you
Why?
want to
Who
function
gives you
in
that
these kinds of
responsibility?
countries, well,
That's a
these are
very
my
arrogant thing to say because
no,
remember,
no,
keep in mind, you didn't put them in that condition. So how
no, I
dare
didn't.
you,
No, I
if
didn't.
you didn't create the condition that made them that way, you didn't do that. People like Isaac Newton did, right? And it was enforced by the nation state. So how dare you have the arrogance to think it's like if a nuclear physicist created a bomb and attached it to someone's back, and you're like, well, I learned a little bit of intro to chemistry. I'm gonna proceed to try to dismantle this. No wonder these people are blowing up right before our eyes.
No, I'm not trying to look down on anyone. I'm just saying that most of the people that exist in these communities, they don't necessarily give heavy weight to so-called academia and what we consider to be education. I think that many of them, like in even in first world societies, they more prone to, well, we like sports. We like watching what's it, uh, with the dramas on television. We like going on Instagram and doing things like that. These kinds of things is what they ingest every day. I don't look down on them because they do that. I'm just saying that I believe that there is a better way in looking at the world. And I can't come at people like saying, well, with this big thing and say it's wrong to do that. How I relate to people is like it's like this. You know, I try to meet people where they are. For me, I try to meet people where they are. And I may look at the world differently, but I try to meet people where they are, and that's how I relate to my people.
That's a very intellectual position, man.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I
It's
don't
ex-
think so.
You're
I don't
amazing.
think so.
Well, either way, you're still involved in
If
the in.
gas the other day, gas the other day, gas the other day was mentioning Adam Smith. He's going on and on about Adam Smith and Newtonian principle, right? I can't go to the regular person on the street because regular person on the street ain't read the Wealth of Nations before, even though they practicing it in what he's selling straw in the
So
straw
have enough
vent
respect for
the
them to
straw.
stay stupid.
Hold on, let me finish. In the straw market where they selling petty items, well, I consider to be petty items, bags and purses they sewn together, right up. They practicing Adam Smith principles. How do I relate to a woman like that in the straw market? I can't speak to her on that level. I have to speak on a level where she can understand. So I have to break down Adam Smith principles in a way to show her these are the things that you are actually doing on a daily basis. How do you do that in the Bahamian parlance? How do you break that down on a level to the man on the street? So this is where I am. I have to relate to people on that level, even though I have read the Wealth of Nations. But I understand there is a gap in between in terms of people understanding. So I have to be able to relate to people where they are. You understand what I'm saying or no?
I have enough respect for people to leave them on stupid. If I meet you stupid, I respect you enough to be where you are. I'm not arrogant enough to try to fix you. That's that's terrible. I'm not a
I
board certified physician, or I'm not a board certified psychotherapist or anything, or psychiatrist. If you're
It's
retarded,
not
you're,
your job to do that. I understand. It's
I'm
not
not
your
here to
job to.
fix stupid.
I understand.
When you be
I
dumb,
understand.
and I
I
accept it.
understand. But if you want your people to develop, see, if you
I don't
want your
have
people,
people. Who are my
well,
people?
good. No, I was talking to Razuli now. Let me just relate to Razuli because you are a man, you are an entity on all into yourself. You don't really give a shit about the people. But as far as looking at the people in terms of human development goals, I feel that it is incumbent on people like myself who may understand that there is a different way of looking at the world to be able to relate that to other people where they may see the world differently, in terms of human development, developing their mind and trying to, look at the world in a way that can be constructive for themselves outside of what they're doing. And you may say, well, the hell with them, charge them to the game. I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way, because I have
No, I
met,
didn't
I
say
have
to
met,
hell.
I have
I'm just
met.
you can't create an army out of donkeys. Have you ever seen? Do you think Alexander the Great rode donkeys? Or
You a bigger dictator than I am, good guy. You know that you was a
how
bigger
does that
dictator
make any difference? Just don't want
because
any difference. Okay.
because okay, I'm explaining. Because if you say these people are donkeys, these people they really they're stupid. Then the next thing is if I want to effectuate something that is something outside of me, something that's big and huge, then I have to either, since I can't coerce them or explain to them in a way where they'll be able to understand and come along, then I have to do two things: either coerce or force them to. Either coerce them to, or try to convince them to in another way, or force them to do it. And usually, what's been happening in these societies is like it's too much time in trying to coerce you.
But you see,
You
that's the
you're gonna do this, you're gonna do
that's
this, and you're gonna do this by the butt of a gun because I believe it's for your own benefit. So I gonna
no,
force you to do it.
that's a paternalistic way of looking at life. And for one, you see, I believe in voodoo and very strong energies. If I tried to take that approach of power, I would die on the spot. I don't want that. I don't want if that's what if that's what those people want, they can have it. And I think it's an arrogance, and it's an abuse of power. Just because you have knowledge doesn't mean you should use it to Francis Bacon style, knowledge is power, and fry them like bacon strips. No, just leave people alone. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't see the point in trying to um, actualize or create things, and leave them alone. Other than
Absolutely.
protecting yourself, you put the things out there. If you're gonna do it, I just don't feel the need, and this is just on an individual level to like, oh, well, we got to get the people doing this and this. But look, I don't want the conversation to get hijacked in the real because the topic was
It's
about
cool. It's cool.
the topic was about um, you know happiness, and I just think a lot of these things are fictions. That's why the book 1984, I'm not the biggest fan. I think he had some things right, Orwell, but I think the real book of our times is A Brave New World. That's a much more compact book in terms of exploring and explaining what we are living under today.
Never
You
never
have
read it.
Sister
I'll
Eva's
I'll read
first.
it.
Oh, you guys should
Yeah,
read
I'll
it.
read it. Yeah,
Everybody
I
should get
never
out
read
that
it.
book, Brave New World. You know, but I think only wanted to share his thoughts, so I don't want to get at Oni.
Only if you're
Yes,
talking, you're
honey,
muted.
it's on you. Honey, were you muted? Well, okay. So until
Yeah,
Oni
I think
gets
his girlfriend has him by the balls. He can't talk right now. He's in trouble.
well, he's back. He's back on this side. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, one thing that Huxley had above Orwell was that Huxley was deeply connected to the scientific um, wave that was coming. He could see that, the different ways that science was going to change society. Whereas Orwell was seeing, the vestiges of the old power as if they were going to be in control forever. So Orwell was more of a traditionalist looking to the past behind for his vision, and Huxley was actually way ahead of his time. He wrote in 32, so he wrote his book before Orwell did, and he was already imagining a time when technology had this this effect on not just the state but the individual people as well. The way that it infused itself in all the aspects of life, including family, including the early breakdown of the family, the state being in control of the children, but especially in this making the population docile, not using not denying the pleasure principle, but actually taking control of it and using it against the people. So almost having people complicit in their own mindlessness in a way. So people sacrificed truth, freedom, whatever you think of it, for the sake of happiness, and not so much happiness, but security. This removal of all accident, accidentalities in life, so that your life was already pre-programmed from beginning to end, and it was this order. But they knew that order was not enough. People still wanted to have leisure, so they both had the capital, and they also had the leisure class. So you both, working and leisure class in a way for some people. And then for the rest, it was simply, mindless menial labor. So they were just, relegated to, using their hands and never their minds. So in 1984, and also this cutting of the bond between, the family bond. So in that, he imagined a time when, we're not at that time yet, thankfully, but he imagined a time when even birth was not biological. So basically, the state took over all the biological functions, including the function of happiness, family, socializing, and everything, and including, even the process of birth. So children were born in these, containers, almost like a matrix one, that's in the with the, all the cubicles, all the little containers with the children. So even the children were separated, because in the in 1984 the children would be, still living with the parents, but the state had, some control over them. But in 19 in Huxley, the state, it starts from, from birth, so that there's never any concept of, losing something, because you never had it in the first place. So it's easy to replace those kinds of things, because what society is suffering now is like a mixture between both, and people are suffering from alienation, which is, not having something that they want, but they know that they cannot get it. So Huxley solves that by saying, you never even knew it. If you never knew freedom, you're not going to yearn for it. If you never knew family and community and all these things, you'll never yearn for it. That need is still going to be there, and it can be easily satisfied with, drugs, or, now with opiums, with, psychotropic medications and all these, you can replace those, but we still, people will still remember, those things that tie them to each other. But the vision or the aim of such a society, the after Ford society, is to have emotionless human beings, where you only satisfy the biological aspect, and even the aspect of happiness is, derived into a chemical problem with a chemical solution. So yeah, so we're in the middle of that, that perspective. But
So what is happiness? Or is happiness just utility masked as happiness?
In the socialist world, well, that's the other thing too, because this is something that both socialism and capitalism have in common, which is what both 84 and Huxley have in common, is that they both still want to satisfy, happiness. There's still happiness within that. For the socialist, it's, happiness in, satisfaction with, your work, the products of your labor, or, your labor meaning something. In capitalist society is happiness, by being able to, go and, that freedom to, what is it? The leave me alone freedom. I can never say it's laissez-faire or something, but, that freedom to go, that's the happiness, the happiness of accumulation, of consumerism and consumption. That's the happiness in capitalism. So in both systems, they're still pursuing happiness, even though, they define it in different ways. So, it's still a problem either way. It's an assumption that they both are coming from. So they solve it in different ways, but I think they're both coming from the same assumption. And some people might say that this happiness is an elusive thing. It's an aspect that doesn't, that, everybody has a different idea of it, and nobody can really define what it is. So even when you look at the declaration,
So if we can't define what it is, why are we even pursuing it? Why is it even in our lexicon or presented as something to us that we should be, striving for? If it's, free floating, if it's ephemeral, then what's the point? And that's why, happiness, desire, power, Many of these things can be used interchangeably, and that's why it's just like, there's no such thing as happiness. I think it's a fiction.
Well, it's a
I
fiction.
disagree with that. I disagree with that. I think there's a such thing as happiness, man. Come on, gas them up. For me, happy. Let me define happiness. Happiness is a feeling, a sentiment. When I'm eating a nice big bowl of a curry chicken, curry chicken or some conch from from um, from my conch shack place on Fridays. When I'm drinking after a long hard ass week of work, and when I'm drinking my rum on a Saturday night, I'm chilling, shooting the breeze. I'm happy. I'm contented. I think that these things are definable. I think it's
Are
within
you
the
are you
individual.
confusing content and happiness?
I think that they are exchangeable. I think that these words are exchangeable.
So
I think
content and happiness are the same thing?
I think that they're exchangeable. For me, they are. They are. When I'm content, I am happy. When I'm contented, I am happy. I think that is. I think it's a subjective feeling or sentiment. I don't think that you could. For me, for me, I think that these are the same kinds of sentiments. So I don't particularly agree with that. To say that
So
they're
then so then why do you want to become successful?
well, for me, in terms of success, success is subjective as well. What I consider success
But
for
you
me.
just said content. Content
I,
and success are not the same thing.
no, you asked me specifically, why do I want to be successful? That's another question outside of happiness and contentment.
Because
So
your current position, one would, okay, let me put it like this. If content was happiness, then people for the most part would be content with their station.
and there
But
are
a lot
many
of
people who
people
are,
are not. But a lot of people are not.
but they're not happy. They're not happy where they are. They're not happy where they are. If they are happy where they are or contented where they are, they wouldn't try to move from that
But
state
is
to get another
happiness a
type of state.
state or is it a feeling?
I think that it's a state of mind, and it is a feeling. It's a sentiment. It's a sentiment
So
that
then it's a
individual.
feeling and it's not real.
You could,
Because
well,
feelings can't there's no exchange for feelings.
oh, so you want to quantify a sentiment or a feeling,
No, I'm
and
just saying
if you can't
no,
do
but
that, then it
we
doesn't
can
exist.
yes, if we can't have a concrete, right? If it's something that's abstract, then like you just said, a big bowl of curry chicken. Well,
Yes, sir.
if I slap that big bowl of curry chicken in front of some white granola eating liberal who's a vegan, they vomit and spit in your face. So just like if I took a big bowl of you know dirt and greens and said, "Wanna eat," you might be saddened. So
Yes,
if it's
how you would take my nice bowl of curry chicken and put vomit in that, man? Now you give me a mental picture that I don't want to have there.
this is what I'm
Come on.
saying. So I'm just trying to point out to you that
Now I'm not contented.
is a fiction of the mind. It's not real because is happiness a state or is it a feeling?
I think that you could one goes with the other. I think that the sentiment or state of mind is very similar to each other. I think that's very similar to each other. When you try to make these kinds of terms quantifiable, you know what I mean? Like, I think that that's where the difficulty comes in, because if it's not tangible, therefore it does not exist in your mind. So I can't have that. We really can't argue that point, because we arguing on the lines of the intangible. So I'd have to go on the Black Pentagram show and talk in terms of metaphysical natures and things of that nature. And I'm not that deep. I'm
Well,
not that deep.
let
I'm not
me
that deep.
let let's get tangible for a second then, without getting deep. Do you think that there's a correlation between happiness and money or wealth, income, however you put it?
For some people, sure, absolutely. For some people, but I wouldn't take a blanket and just cast it over everyone. I think that it's individualized in terms of what happiness is, what contentment is, and in terms of, if somebody has a lot of money, they are content and happy, whereas someone may not be. They may be miserable. So I wouldn't take that and just brush that over everyone. I think that that's the mistake.
because I think that the difference is, or the important part is this whole idea of, um, you know, the government. This is what I talked about earlier, that in the declaration, it's a declaration of independence, is, and yet one of the things that it declares is that people should have, should have happiness. This is a very, this is a very strange thing for a state. It's like, even let's say, the school does not, pursue happiness, or does not care about the happiness of the pupils. The religious people do not care about the happiness of the people. So why should the state, of all people, this, faceless, bureaucratic, by the books, kind of institution, why should they put, even the idea of happiness within that, certain, we hold this truth that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, that to secure the right to pursue happiness, governments are instituted among men to, to institute these laws. So it was obviously, something important enough to, to base your declaration of independence on, whether it is true or not. But as you can see, all these ideas were, were not even true at that time. All men were not created equal, and they were certainly not endowed, with liberty and pursuit of happiness, unless it was, for a very small people. So when, you see a lot of, even in these times, people still pursue it as if it's a real thing. People are still going after, or living their lives pursuing this thing called happiness. People are still, looking for it, are still wondering what it's about, and basing a whole lot of their choices on this idea of happiness. So it's a if it's an elusive thing, if it's something that does not exist, why do so many put so much stock in it? And it's not simply, this idea of happiness is also the idea that you can increase your happiness. You can, if you had just a little bit of more of something, that you can be, happier. So happiness is actually, almost goes against the whole idea of contentment, because if something makes you happy, then more of it should make you happier. And so, you have people actually trying to quantify the happiness, in terms of money, in terms of, wealth, in terms of all these things. So, yeah, this only happens when, when you have certain ideals, when you start thinking that, that money or materialism or something is supposed to be the basis of your, of your value as a person. So,
Well, to these men, money, or in terms of wealth, physical wealth, tangible wealth, because you have to consider the authors of this so-called Declaration of Independence, and all these men were wealthy landowners. So from them, from their purview, the pursuit of happiness, or the actual attainment of happiness, is to have more what they already had in the first place: more slaves, more land, whatever. And the fact that they were freely able to pursue it, freely able to pursue it, whereas they were not freely able to pursue it where they came from, with a king. You know, this was the highest form of contentment or happiness that they made mention of it in their so-called Declaration of Independence. And I think that for me, who was not a wealthy, white male landowner, the fact I still hold to this document as well, because I feel the fact that we are freely able to pursue what we believe to be happiness is something that is a good thing, because in some societies you don't even have the opportunity to pursue that right. You don't even have the opportunity to pursue that right, or what you consider to be in terms of happiness, because the laws of other societies are so restrictive. They human the human capacity to freely do certain things are extremely restricted.
But
So
Warner,
I feel, let me finish, gas. So I feel like to put this in this document, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I really don't. I don't. But my spectacles are a little bit different from the actual authors of this document. I'll leave it there. Go ahead, gas.
No, I just want to say, I just, that's why I say you're an intellectual, but you choose not to go further because perhaps you feel that it's going to make you lose touch with the so-called common man. For me, what I'm hearing is like you said, oh, the people they couldn't get property because the king, and it's all lies. All of what they're saying is lies. They definitely could get property. The king didn't stop them from getting property. As a matter of fact, the parliament had already pretty much removed the powers of the king um, by that time. What's interesting, again, they stole that from, I believe it was John Locke. Am I right, Tan? Who said um, life, liberty, and property? Is that not what? It was
Yes,
John Locke,
with
right?
him or Rousseau.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of them, right? And
yeah.
so you can see that piece of crap pedophile um, Thomas. I think it was Jefferson who changed that, right, in the Constitution. I could be wrong, but he's
Yes,
the one who added it. He changed it from property and made sure to put the pursuit of happiness. And you know, this was done strategically because America is a French experiment, a French Masonic experiment. Um, it's not a coincidence. All the so-called founding fathers were high-ranking Masons. Shout out to them. No beef with those guys. But my point is to say to you that you see they give us a standard doctrine that they want us to believe, and in reality, that's not what was happening on the ground. So, for example, they'll tell you that, oh well, they revolted because they wanted taxation without representation was terrible. But what they don't tell you is that um, that was a lie. The level of taxes and the amount of taxes that the so-called colonialists were paying was not the same that the people in England were paying, right? And so because of American propaganda, we've been told, they say there's three sides to the story: your side, my side, and the truth, right? So we've only heard the American side. So when you can imagine when the King of England is hearing some moron named George Washington tell him that you're a tyrant and you're oppressing me, he's looking at like, man, these freaking French, they're out here playing games again, because how am I oppressing you? Right? I'm not oppressing you. You're free to do business. You're not even paying the full amount of taxes, and you're a slave owner talking about you want freedom. You see what I'm saying, Ted? You see the inherent contradictions in this nonsense. But I still want to say this to you, Juana, that the document in that particular statement was a myth, and it was done purposely because they knew they didn't want to create a state where people, the trajectory could have been much different. It would have been a different nation. People would have had, it would have had perhaps the first so-called welfare nation if they had, you know, guaranteed that property was put into that document, but they made sure that it was taken out because, and this is why when you say read Foucault, if the so-called founding father is putting in the document, he's taking, Jean Locke, right, life, liberty, and property, then the founding fathers, so-called, are all continental Europeans using continental European philosophy. And then they're just tweaking it to, suit their purpose. So I'll give you guys an example. You look at Paris and the way Paris and London are built, they build them off of stolen Roman architecture, right? With circles and lines and all these things. When they get to America, they find out it's more efficient to build cities with grid patterns and right angles. So the first city I believe that was built on the grid was Philadelphia. And then they build, of course, famous Manhattan off the grid pattern as well, which was so they take a European philosophy, but they readjust it as they come to the new world because, Europe was already solidified. So I'm just trying to say and show you that when we buy into these, oh, happiness and oh, capitalism and oh, socialism, these are all ideological slogans that they just put in front of us. These are just signs, and and they're signals, and they use it to trip our brains. And so we fall for it, like, oh, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and it's like none of us are in that class. And the ironic thing, Tan, is this, and I'll repeat it again: the real capitalists are pretty much socialists. That's all the Illuminati, Bilderberg, CFI. It's a group of people coming together to create policies that benefit them. If that's not communism, I don't know what is. Think
Yeah, I
about
think
that, Ted. You get what I'm saying, Ted?
Yeah, it's
It's the
communism.
funniest.
A few
It's the biggest joke. Exactly. It's the biggest joke in the fucking world. So they tell you in school, and they put in school, it's communism. They had a strike against the Labor Party. They struck. Who were they striking? They were just striking the pockets of the rich men. But the rich men
and they
will tell
don't
you,
want the people to become communist, but do
but
as
they are communism.
not really not as we do.
Do as I say, but not as I do. It's a game.
But
And
yeah,
that's why Pharrell, I'll end with this.
the thing that
That's
we
why
do, and
Pharrell
also
can sing that song.
keep that information to themselves. A lot of those things are secret for a reason. So
Of course.
it's
But
it's
that's why
dangerous,
Pharrell can sit in his studio.
but even it's not a free market either because they also have control over the information, over the means of production and so on. So it's not free. You cannot just do an muziki go open a store, how wherever you want. But
Well,
yeah,
no,
but back
listen,
on muziki, go ahead.
that's why, no, can you guys hear me?
we could hear
Hello?
you. We could hear you. We
Okay,
could
no,
hear
I was just saying, that's why, Pharrell can make a song and tell you,
Oh,
I'm so
lost.
happy.
Bwana Haguziki, you're
Hello?
muted.
Tan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, now you're not.
Tan, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
it's
could hear you,
okay.
Gas. Go
For
ahead,
some
Gas.
reason.
No, Tan can't hear us. I don't know. Tan, your volume is messed up. I
Okay,
can.
when you can speak, we'll
Hello,
go
Tan.
ahead.
Tan, can you hear me?
But that's those are all these
Her
ideas,
volume, her
Yeah,
thing is muted.
she got ahead of
She
us.
can't have it.
distractions. It's things
Wow.
that
Let me
they put
text her in the chat.
ideas
I'll text her.
into people's heads. They have people going after certain ideals so that they don't see or see others. And one of the things that they say, for like a book in 1984, is to say that, oh well, the people, like the consent of the governed. Let me see where they say about that. And even that, they Thomas Jefferson borrowed it from from the social construct with the Hobbes, that whole, man is brutish and all that. And so, the social contract is, so we all agree to be under this government. So when he talks about to secure this rights, government are instituted, deriving the powers
Can the
from the
audience
consent
hear
of
us?
the government. So
I think the
basically,
audience can hear us, but they
The
can't hear her.
audience
Tan,
has to share.
she's not reading the message.
She got the she got the
No,
microphone
it's true.
upside
You
down.
can't hear a woman.
people's property
She got the
is
phone. She got the
Yeah,
microphone.
is she rocking? She
people want
rocking.
something
She going.
ephemeral like happiness rather than something tangible like property. So life, that one is is there. Liberty can also be defined whichever way, and definitely the pursuit of happiness. So he saw that if he kept the pursuit of property, that would be dangerous, especially for men who was trying to keep secure that property. They were not trying to share it. They were
Guys,
trying
I
to
think
be
we may need to come
communalistic
out and
amongst
come back in.
themselves, not to open it up to everyone, because everything that was said here was pretty much contradictory. When you talk about all men being equal, yet you have slaves. When you talk about life and liberty, and the same thing, and also the pursuit of happiness. So these were just words that are, like Zuli says, it's just sexy talk. It's words that sound good in a way, but they don't really mean anything. The pursuit of happiness means nothing. And it's funny also that there was a movie with the same name, with a Y, that Will Smith had. But yeah, if that's all you're pursuing is happiness, it's not it's not duty, it's not communalism, it's not, there's no higher. And even Tezi was saying earlier, with the Epicurus, happiness is pretty much a self-centered pursuit, because it's you're judging how you feel, not based on what is good, but simply by how something makes you feel. So, if you regard things that way, even if it's peace or the lack of pain, you're still pretty much putting yourself in the center and saying that that is all that is important. So not only are you putting yourself in the middle, you're also saying that happiness is the most important, not other things, not truth, not duty, not not even self-preservation, because some people can pursue happiness at the cost of their own, at the cost of their own life. So this pursuit of happiness is, if one lived their life in that way, that would be, it would be good for them perhaps, but it's not something that is would be beneficial to the community, and the state would be the last, people to have, to have a stake in the happiness of people. What that's such a personal thing. It's funny that they want to be out. They do not want to. They want to separate church and religion, but they still care for your personal happiness. They still want you to pursue your personal happiness. So, oh yes, go ahead, but
Stan, can you hear me?
okay. We lost Gaston up. Thank you for joining us.
No,
But
we was in the
was it
background. We was
you?
really trying to connect with you, but unfortunately, we wasn't able to
Oh,
hear us.
wait a minute.
Yeah,
What was going on?
yeah,
Was
we was.
Gus speaking?
Gas was speaking, I was speaking, and you just couldn't hear us at all.
What
We was
is
trying to
going
get your
on?
attention.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Hello,
The
can you hear me?
sound is off.
Oh, she still can't hear me.
Oh, that's interesting. Bwana Haguzihi, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? 1 2 1 2. Can the audience hear me?
Oh, okay. Wow. What? Oh, that was weird. I could not hear you this entire time.
Yeah,
Oh,
can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
How
Yeah,
long have I just been going?
at least 5 minutes.
Oh, shoot. Are you serious?
Yes, 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 yes. That's okay. That's okay.
Oh,
It was hilarious. It was
man.
hilarious. It's okay. It's okay. You were teaching anyways, so it really didn't come off. I guess people could hear you on the other side, but me and Gas was we was trying our best to get your attention.
Ah, shoot.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's take up where we was just gonna talk, where we just stopped talking. We was
Okay.
talking about the pursuit of happiness. Now that document, when you say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, of course, I believe that you all are correct. The I think Thomas Jefferson and them got that from the French when they say liberty, fraternity, something, I forget it, fraternity, liberty, whatever that phrase is the French uses. So they stole that particular uh, phrase from the French. So I understand where y'all say that they get it from other European documents. I really do understand that. But when y'all get into your esoteric knowledge in terms of these guys are Masons, that's where y'all lose me. Y'all lose me. Because I am a simple person, and when he's telling me things like this, you know, I just understand practical knowledge and where to find it. I do not have enough information to know whether what was influencing these guys was the fact that these guys were coming from any Masonic orders or had any kind of nefarious things that was going on. How I understand history was that they were not necessarily doing the things they needed to do in London or in the UK or at that time. So they came to America and decided to create their own country, a country without a king. And um, in formulating their country, they put these principles inside of it. Now we could argue in terms of what the pursuit of happiness is, but I think that is subjective. I think that is extremely subjective because what happiness is for one individual may differ from another individual, and that's what's so great about I feel about the United States because you know in some countries you have this paternalistic figure who determines what he defines as happiness, and he imposes that on the rest of the people. In America, that's not so. Every individual has their own idea of what happiness is, and they have a right to pursue that form of happiness. That's for me. That's what is distinctively different in terms of the U.S. Constitution than in terms of what's going on in other countries of the world. That's my position.
Yes, and for me, I don't think that the problem is, that people should not be happy or happiness should not be, should be forbidden or anything like that. Um, the only problem becomes when happiness is a societal ambition, when people pursue, for example, if you just look at the way the attention, and that for me, I think, is what happiness, the fundamental thing of happiness is always having your attention occupied by something, whether it's something that makes you happy, entertains you. It's basically a break from work, because not a lot of people, when they think of happiness, they think of doing something, creating something, or doing something productive. That is usually, not that creatives don't look at that as work or as happiness. Yes, they do, but not everybody has that creativity, or that they can they create something that makes them happy. So for most people, being happy is usually a very passive activity. It's usually something that they take in, whether they're taking in food, or they're taking in movie or entertainment or something. It's not something that they're creating, it's more something that they're consuming. So in a capitalistic, can you still hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, yes.
Good,
Oh
good.
my God.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I don't want to do that again. Okay, so in a capitalistic, so no, not even in a capitalistic, this applies both. It applies to all systems which attempt to solve the human problem of of desire, of dissatisfaction, not just satisfying your basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, and all that, but when society attempts to to satisfy the human needs for whether they are extra bodily needs. So for in separating, for example, the state from religion, that was to say that the state is not there for your spiritual needs, that you can satisfy your spiritual needs elsewhere, and the state is simply there to make sure that your material needs are met. And
But
so,
don't
go ahead.
no, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you can.
Yeah, but don't you think, like
Hmm.
what you just stated just now? You say that some people work in jobs where they don't necessarily find happiness in their job. It's only when they're maybe doing some other thing, maybe a hobby or something that is creative, that's appealing to their desire or whatever happiness that they consider happiness to be. But there are some people who work a 9 to 5 and they happy at what they do every day. They're happy at what they do every day. And in a country like the United States of America, right? And I tell the United States, I'm just saying that within their constitution, when they say the pursuit of happiness, even if you are at a job that makes you unhappy, you have a right. You have a right to pursue something else, seek some other industry that in fact makes you happy. Whereas in other systems, if you are relegated to a job, you have to stay there. You have to. It's a part of that system that you stay there. You stay at one position, one place. Especially in communism, you stay at one place and you can't move outside of that. You are relegated to that. And I feel like that is what is different from that the constitution we just mentioned right now. You still in that constitution, you say, well, you are not relegated to that position, even though it makes you happy. I'm depressed, even though it doesn't satisfy you as a human being or individual. You have a right to pursue something else. I think that is the distinctive difference between that what's in that constitution and other systems that exist.
Yeah, I agree with
No, don't agree. I want you to fight me. Yeah, let's disagree. Hello, hello.
yes, no, I don't want to fight. I just want to discuss, because
Yes, yes, yes.
I
That's
don't.
what I mean. I want to just how a discourse. You don't have to agree with nothing what I'm saying.
Okay, good, good, good. So in terms of my only problem with this concept of happiness is firstly that it distracts people from, their real, you know, the real important things in life. For example, if your idea is happiness, one of the, let's say people relate to each other and then they're not happy with each other. If your basis for that is to be happy or to bring happiness, it's not that you're supposed to be miserable all the time, but sometimes people, put their happiness or, the pleasure and the good feelings above some of the, the other things like necessity. Or sometimes people put happiness above truth. There's some people for whom, knowing something bad, it's like that song, I don't want to know, blah blah blah. But for some people, being in ignorance is better than being, knowing it, because knowing something that's going to make you unhappy is not pleasant. So when people put, pleasure and happiness above, a lot of, other things in life, it becomes a society of distraction where people are constantly, and boredom also is a result of that. There's boredom that, is just, peaceful, not being involved in an activity, and there's that one that is a restless kind of boredom. The French call it ennui, ENNUI, which is, like this restless, wanting for something. So yeah, sometimes societies that, that overemphasize or emphasize, they don't even have to overemphasize it, because there's some societies that, the happiness of the people is not a big thing. You can find your own personal happiness, but it's not up to the state, to create, avenues for you to pursue your happiness.
No,
You
I agree. I don't think that the document itself is, when the document was written, they don't consider all aspects of the human emotion. I don't think the document goes that deep. I don't think that these people was considering the fact that yes, there are sometimes happiness is a paradigm that some people will want to achieve, but that's not. You can't live in complete ecstasy forever. There are other facets of the human being. There is boredom. There is anger. There's frustration. There are other kinds of things that exist within the human being that you should consider if you are writing a document relating it to human beings. I understand where you're coming from with that. But ultimately, um, if human beings could find what they perceive as this ideal of happiness, I think that I think that most people will attempt to achieve that paradigm, however brief, and then go back to the other aspects of the human being. Ultimately, I think that most people would reach, if they had a choice for reaching for misery or reaching for depression or reaching for boredom, most people will reach or towards their ideal of happiness. I believe, and I may be
Let me
wrong.
ask you this from the point of view of the state. Which is more easy to control people, when people are happy, when they're given everything they want, or when people are deprived of, a lot of the things that they want?
Ah, you got me. When people are most happy, they're easily controllable. You are absolutely right about that. That's a fact.
Mm.
That's a fact. Because you remember we had a video
Hmm.
where they was talking about the compliant slave. They
Hmm.
took a slave who was rebellious. The slave owner, instead of instead of mistreating him or beating him, what he did was he fed him. He took him to his bed. He took him to a bed, a nice warm bed with a nice couchy pillow. He gave him good food. And that particular rebellious slave, he turned into the most compliant slave on the plantation because he didn't want that feeling or that sentiment to stop. So that's the mechanism he used to control a rebellious slave, someone who would have disrupted his system. So I think that you're right. I think that you know, um, a society would try to make their citizenry very, very happy, very, very contented, and in that way, they would protect that system and not want that system to come or fall into disrepute, or not try to interrupt that system because they're so happy. And I can, well, from my purview or standpoint, I think that these people are the most dangerous people. A well-fed, happy slave is the most dangerous slave on a plantation, and you could bring that up to 21st century, politics. But I think that in some societies, where you see the people who are most fed and who are most comfortable, they're gonna fight the hardest to maintain and retain that. And if you were to tell these people, let's go and create a system for ourselves, let's go and create a society for ourselves. Let's go structure it in the way that we would like to. They will fight you, say, where we going? I'm happy here. You know what I mean? I get good food here. I'm not going nowhere. I could be a slave on this plantation rather than going through the rigmarole and running my plantation for myself. You know what? You know how uncomfortable I'd be in that situation. I'm not going back to that kind of situation. I would rather sit in servitude rather than rule and conduct my own system because I am most comfortable here.
Yeah, and that's why this philosophy of happiness is so dangerous, because it lulls people. It makes people, both the happy and the unhappy, because even the unhappy person, if the unhappy person is still pursuing happiness, then that unhappy person is just, even more easier to control, because they still want that one thing, which is happiness. So the one who's happy is content, so they are easy to control, they will not resist. And the unhappy one is easy to bribe, because they want that which they do not have. So once you have that whole and happiness as a as a sort of like a bait. Happiness is a bait that those who find it, it's a trap for them, and it's a trap as well for those who don't have it, because they see it and they'll keep wanting it. So happiness for the state, yeah, it's one of the best means of control. So instead of doing it, because when you look at 1984, they have to use these very elaborate measures to keep the people in control. They have to be constantly surveilling them. They have to, almost read their minds. They have to constantly track them and find and gather all this data and information on their citizens. That's why I said we're in sort of like a merger between 1984 and a Brave New World, because you can see aspects of both. But in a Brave New World, they don't have to worry about the unhappiness of people, because they guarantee it. From birth, you're given, your pills, your chemicals. It's almost like chemical castration, but it's chemically castrating, sorry, your emotions and your will and your drive, and basically making it completely reliant on the system. So there's no possibility of even unhappiness or resistance, because you're already given everything that you want. And what else can you want if you don't know it? So
But
you
what I've
yes.
heard from some sectors is, it, societies that say we want little or to no governmental intervention or control. They say laissez-faire, leave the person to engage and let me say, do as he wish. We only gonna have certain limits. We're only gonna have certain limits, whereas other people can infringe on the so-called happiness or the rights of others. We're gonna ensure that the roads are paved. We're gonna ensure that the individual is protected if his house burns down or someone tries to come in his home and does harm to him. That's where the government or the state will intervene. But the individual, we're gonna leave him to develop and to do as he wish in the society. Whereas there are other systems that is heavily in the government is heavily involved in what goes on into that individual's life. They allot you the amount of food you can buy. They allot you a wife that you're supposed to marry. They allot that's for me, that's the only the system that practices that the most is a communism state. Is a state that guys are heavy socialized. We're gonna take care of the social welfare of the people. Who tell you I want you to take care of me? Who tell you I know? Who tell you that you believe that you know what's best for me? But I know what's best for me. Me as an individual, I know what's best for me, and I don't want you to come into my environment, into my private space, and to impose on me what you believe is good for me. That's countries like that, China or communistic countries like Cuba and things like that, they are heavily in the government is heavily involved in the individual's life, as opposed to societies where they leave the individual alone. They practice laissez-faire politics, and the individual, for the most part, is an entity unto himself. I believe that society creates the happiest people, the happiest kinds of people, because they are freer in that you know in that regard, as opposed to people where you have heavy government involvement. I might be wrong, but that's what I believe.
Well, I think that both of them have the same end inside, just different ways to get there, because it's not, you know, the way that the one state does the control of the people is different from the way another does, but the end result is still the same. It's still to have a population that is docile, that does not think, and that basically, is under control. So, with the one start, with the socialist, you can say, oh, they're going to control what you eat, drink, or whatever. I'm sure that's not exactly it. For them, it's it's in the control of the people, but who decides what the people get. But in any case, the other side is the capitalist society, where you're free to do what you want. But the truth is that you're not seeing who is controlling you. At least in the socialist state, you can see that the state is controlling you, but in the capitalist state, they're doing it, but they're doing it with the illusion that you have that sense of freedom. So you don't see, it's like the propaganda let's say in America versus in North Korea. Both will say, from if you interview people from both those places, they won't say, oh, I'm being propagandized. Nobody, if you realize the propaganda, then it's not really working as well. But you can still realize it and still be under it. That's not to say that once you see, oh, this is propaganda, that you can escape it. But in other ways, it's not that the capitalist system is better or worse than the other one. Is to say that they both assume, have the same assumption, that it is up to the state to guarantee people's happiness, whether by providing them everything they need in a socialist state, or by giving them all the freedom that they need in a capitalist state. But in either case, they still wish to direct the happiness of people, either by giving them everything, in the summer states, the Brave New World, or by, restricting that. But in either case, it's the state that is deciding for you, no more freer, personally, in where you're given everything than where you're denied, a lot.
How am I no? Come on, time. How am I not more freer? How am I not more freer? If I could determine, if I am determined, if the so-called society in which I live is allowing me to determine my destiny, as
But
opposed to a society that is telling me what my destiny is going to be, and imposing their ideas on what my destiny should be. How
well,
am I more?
if you didn't
Go ahead.
know
Go
any
ahead. Go ahead.
different, then you wouldn't know. That is why, that's what in Aldous Huxley, it's not just, oh, you're given a choice. It's that it starts from birth. It starts from before birth. So how, in that situation, how would you know whether your choices are free or you're given those choices? So even in the capitalist state, in fact, in the capitalist state, they do want to measure, to be able to know exactly where they can place people, the whole prison to pipeline thing, knowing how many people are needed in the factories, so all these things, you can think that, oh, I am free to do what I do, but in real life, there's an invisible hand still working against you. So you're laboring under the delusion or the illusion that you're free, but in actuality you're not, because you cannot see how the forces are working, either within or without you.
The difference is, the difference in what you say is, you may not be able to perceive it or see it, but in a society, and what I'm talking about, you are free to learn. You could go to a library and try to understand the greater world that exists beyond you, and understand certain systems that exist. You are freely able, and most people in capitalist societies, unfortunately, they don't take advantage of their free right to learn about all these unseen forces that exist, that is
Yes, but
determined in their life. Oh, let
assuming
me finish. Let me finish. as opposed to in socialist or communist countries where information is heavily restricted. You can't know. You believe that life is how it is because they limit your access to information. In Western societies, they don't limit your access because they are so confident that given the free right to pursue anything, one of the things that they will not pursue is in terms of reading, human development, studying different things that's beyond their gate. They don't do that. They don't partake in these kinds of things. And I think that that is the difference.
Well, I would say
We
this.
have we have smartphones. Everyone in the Western world has access to things. They have the internet and they have smartphones. On these smartphones, and it's unfortunate smartphones that make smart people, but we have the ability to have access to information that exists. Anything the mind could perceive of, we have the ability to have access to it. In the countries that you are describing, in socialist countries and communist countries, information is heavily restricted.
So, with all this information that they have in the West, do you think that the people in the West are more informed than in other places?
Of course, of course, of course they are. Of course they are more informed. Because if I have access to know what's going on in China, I could just use my phone and find that information out. In fact, I don't even have to find that information out. I could just go on the internet and talk to a person from China. And as opposed to some societies where you can't even go on YouTube and talk to people from around the world. They heavily restrict access to that kind of heavily restricted, heavily restricted. I could use this phone and talk to someone in Saudi Arabia right now, even though Saudi Arabia is well, if they spoke English or French or Spanish, but even though the Saudi Arabia is a heavily restricted country in terms of information and access. So of course I'm more informed than a person who lives in Saudi Arabia. Of course I am.
Well, you know, what they are confident in, what somebody is confident in if they, for example, give you access. Access opportunity is not the same as, actually, you know, getting that information, because the other thing that happens is that when people are faced with a plurality of choices, sometimes they don't know, and then they'll just choose randomly. So each and every choice has an equal chance of being taken. So whether it's good or bad, whether it's reliable or not, there's no place to simply say this is the official, and everybody's working from a random perspective. So the one thing that and that was again back to a brave new world, is that you're given everything. Let's say you had access to all the information in the world, all the everything that you wanted to know was there at your fingertips. That does not necessarily guarantee that everybody's going to take it. Some people who have the certain both the skills, the talent, the time, the information, the access, and the wherewithal to do that, some people might pursue it. So yes, it is open to some people, but to most people, and even you say, yeah, people have access to it, but not everybody is going to go down that corner. And even that access has been severely limited, because the information that people have access to is tailored. That's why you have an algorithm. It's not just all free, because there's a lot of information, and no one person can be able to discern what they should take and not. So that is where the hidden hand of the algorithm comes in, and then still tailors that information. So people just have the idea that they are seeing the information and it's right, but it's really just information that's curated for them. And that's more dangerous than knowing that, oh yes, we're restricted from having certain information. So
I,
it
I
is.
think that I
Mhm.
think that I think that what is beautiful in terms of having free access is you have the free access or free right to be a fool. I think that in these countries, because you have a plethora, because you have many access to many different kinds of information, and individuals could choose to use that information poorly and misinform themselves. They can use that information stupidly, and misinform themselves. But there is a choice, because I have a choice to use this information and use it to a point where it's beneficial to me. Another person may not be able to do that, but they have the free right to be fooled. They have the free right to use the tool they have in their hands every day. And unfortunately, and this is an unfortunate thing, I think that Marcus Garvey said that intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. You will always have many people who could care less about properly informing themselves, engaging in industry, doing the kinds of things that would be of benefit to themselves and their family. They just want to, they just want to be casual with life, and they end up as casualties. But
Yes.
for the people who choose not to do that, then we benefit off of tools like this, where we use these tools to speak to intelligent people to properly inform ourselves. So you can't get mad at us and now call us a bunch of exploiters because we chose to make the right decision with the access to the tools that we have in our hands every day.
Yes.
I think that's an unfair thing now to start calling us a bunch of exploiters because we use it in a way that was beneficial for us. And unfortunately, you end up as our employees.
Nope, nope. You have to continue that one with, Azuli and the rest. But one thing I would say is this that you said is, not just the intelligence, but, the ability to care. And unfortunately, this is what happens. Even the value of knowledge is also, it's entwined with the culture. So in the West, where you say that people have access to all this information, but they don't have a reason to care. They don't have a reason. Oh, you said, oh, I can call somebody, in Saudi Arabia. Why would they care about anybody out there? Why, if you believe you live in the best place in the whole world, why would you even want to know about anywhere else? Why would you just not be content being where you are? So, in fact, for those people who are denied that information, those are the people who, that information is more precious and most precious, and they'll go to great lengths to find it. And when they do, they'll actually take advantage of that system. I'm not saying that the people who are inside don't. I'm just saying that, for the most part, the majority would not, even if they have access to it, they would not care. That's why you see, in social media and the TikTok in America, what people have access to all the information in the world, but the most popular sites or content is usually either something with drama or something with entertainment or something. It's not something intellectual, uplifting, inspiring. It's not people going out once in a while. Yeah, people will do a good thing, but for the most part it's just distraction. and and,
That
and
and that's their choice, and that is their choice.
no, 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 no. See, now you're being hard on the people because you're for
You
the
think
people
so?
in the West is their choice, but the people in the socialist or whatever those countries that you call, or whatever, socialist, or it's not their choice because it's the government. No, if you have to put choices on both people, you have to put a choice on them. So these people are also manipulated, but the difference is that they're not seeing, that hand on them. So it's harder. It's almost impossible for them to resist or to, think outside of that because that's the only thing that they know. See, people who are oppressed, they know what it is to be free because humans instinctively want to be free. Humans instinctively want, even if it's just an imitation or an illusion of freedom, they still want it. So people who are not, they will resist more. So people who are lulled into thinking that, oh, we have everything, we're the best, we don't need to look outside else, they will not, think to go outside of it. They will not seek to, information outside of where they are because they are content.
I personally think that because of this tool, people have become, because one of the things, if you took away from the equation, you ask the question, why would they care? And I think that this tool, it makes the world a whole lot smaller. Because, for instance, I am able, I live in my particular silo on my island, but I'm speaking to someone from Kenya, in her representing Kenya, in her describing Kenya, it piques my natural curiosity to Kenya. What is Kenya all about? So I go on Swahili Nation. I look and I hear people talk. I see beautiful women. So it's like the curiosity, factor is gonna kick in there, where my interest is piqued, and now I'm gonna want to find out more. And as I find out more, maybe I might want to go there. So I'm using this tool to go outside my immediate situation into somewhere else. And with that interest, I may make connections with people. I may form bonds with people. I might go outside of my own personal experience. So I think that, and it would make me care. After finding, um, 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 creating connections with people from all different parts of the world, I get a different perspective. I get a different perspective, and I think that this is what these kinds of tools provide. Listen, man, I am not a I am not a person who touts the Western experience. I'm just saying that there are some things that exist in this experience that is beneficial in terms of human development. I think that there are some things that does exist in these spaces, whereas in other spaces that they do not exist, or if they do exist, it's not as accessible. That's all I'm saying. So I think that natural human curiosity would provoke people to care. You know, but I'll leave it there.
No, that's a good place to, to wrap it up. So, you know, yeah, you can have access. For me, you can have access to information, but sometimes, if you're given too many choices, it becomes, it becomes overwhelming, and it becomes, it fosters this spirit of contentment or overabundance, and so people don't really, they don't really want to go beyond what they know and what they're comfortable with. And so when you create a society that is comfortable and their happiness is guaranteed, then there's no fight, there's no challenge, there's no, it's like the, immune system. When children are small, they need, not that throw them in the dirt, but they need to encounter the environment, and their body learns to deal with all kinds of different challenges in order to become stronger. So when you take away, the instances or the things that will create, that natural, not pain, but sometimes, you have to have an absence of pleasure in order to learn. And so when people that is deprived from people, then they're not going to really, experience the full, the full aspect of living.
I
And so
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I get what you're saying 100%. Because life in for me, when I lived in the United States, life in for me, you kind of like lose that killer instinct, that edge. I don't know. when you when you have access to everything, everything is at your fingertips, a phone call away. Your ingenuity, your ingenuity to necessity breeds sometimes ingenuity. They say necessity is a mother of invention. When you're in these so-called third world countries, because you don't have ready, you don't have ready access to so many different things. You have to be innovative. You know what I mean? You have to almost be ingenious to fix certain kinds of problems because you are denied access. So it kind of gives you an edge as opposed to a person who is given everything. Everything is at the touch of a phone call. So I think that I understand what you're saying, that there's you lose something in living in a Western society where everything is at your fingertips. I understand that. And I believe that you lose that killer instinct, that edge, but that's just me. That's just me.
no, not just the killer instinct, but the caring instinct as well. Because when have everything, and you get everything easily, and you never encounter, even that pain and deprivation, it's going to remove that aspect of caring for somebody else, because you cannot imagine what it feels like, for example, to be hungry or to not be able to, to have food. For you, hunger is simply, this next stage before you eat. So you don't really understand, certain experiences. So I think that in order for humans to really have the full understanding of life, it shouldn't be, happiness should not be, the number one priority. Happiness, we shouldn't strive so much to be happy as to be, and not just, this personal happiness, but it's a communal thing. Because if happiness is the only thing that matters, then somebody else's comfort, justice, or other things, take second nature. So yeah, I think that, while happiness is important, it shouldn't be, the main pursuit. Before you pursue happiness, you should pursue, it should be, for me, I think happiness should be a byproduct of your other endeavors in life. If you want to be a good person or a just person, or, a creative person, you should do that. And then if happiness comes from that, that's a bonus too.
That's a
So
that's a fair assessment. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I could get with that. I could get with
yes.
that.
And I agree with Caesar. Yes, it is. You don't, yeah, we're not there yet because, as you remember, the Brave New World is set 600 years after Ford. But you don't get everything. You get what you need to revolt, to not revolt. Yeah, I definitely agree. You get just enough to keep you, keep you quiet, keep you content, and keep you in your place. So that's and then in the poor places, you keep you don't get anything, and you have to keep running, to try to get it. So you don't have time to revolt either, or to think about anything else, because you're constantly trying to feed your basic needs. So yes. So let's have your last word, and then
Yes, this has been a good dialogue time as always. You know, it's a little bit more calmer when the guys get around, but it's been a good dialogue. You know, I like the conversation. I really do. And I appreciate your time. You know, I know you usually come around on every Tuesday, so I appreciate the time. I appreciate the lesson from all the brothers who would have contributed their comments tonight, and I appreciate you as well. So, good night.
asante sana Bwana Haguziki. Thank you for your comments and your presence on the panel. Thank you, Caesar. Provide Triggers for Evolution was here. Thank you for joining. Of course, Jan Zola. And Jan Zola, thank you also for your recommendations. I know that you have sent a few people our way. Thank you for that. Guy Nollywood Jr., Hotep, Karibu, Asante for joining. Of course, Tezi was here. He was on the panel. And sorry again, guys, for that 5 minutes of oral audio. Yes, something always goes wrong. So today, that's what it was. Solomon Eden, thank you for joining. That's a cool name. Juju, yes, the pretty ladies were here today. Juju and Bejan were here. Of course, Gastemar, thank you. Oh, sorry. Gastemar, thank you for for always the sense of humor, the panel and the comments. Brother Bakari was here. Asante sana for getting on. That was Ja. Ezuli, did I already mention Ezuli? I hope I did. Ezuli was here for sure, for sure. Yes, Bejan was here. Our pretty ladies. And Oni, where is Oni? Yes, Oni was in the comment section as well as on the panel. So yes, thank you everyone for joining, for being a bit abstract. Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes we do get a bit abstract. I know, but I hope it wasn't too abstract. A bit is good. Sometimes we have to make abstractions for the sake of reality. But yes, asante sana everyone for joining, for making it a great show. I could not talk to myself monologue for 3 hours, so I appreciate the conversation. And as always, we end with a prayer of gratitude to the ancestors for giving us enlightenment, insight, for sharing our knowledge and information, and receiving graciously. And today was a good, peaceful stream, and I'm grateful for everyone who joined. And I wish you all a good time of the day wherever you are. So thank you, and asante sana.